Good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. We're going to start up the Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Time is 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Time is 9 a.m. and all commissioners are present. Also present is our auditor, treasurer, and our county coordinator. If you'd rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Over here. Flags over here today.
Flags over here now.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a reminder, we are conducting official business, so turn your pagers, your cell phones, your TVs, your audio off, and remove your hats and act in a business professional manner. Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none.
Hearing no amendments to the agenda, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And we're on to item number 4 today, potential consent items, please.
Potential consent items are meeting minute approval for March 4th, 2025. Gambling permit, the Church of St. Joseph of Griego event to be 6/13/2025. Resignation, social worker Cameron Schaber, 3/20/25. Resignation, Victoria Hayes, administrative assistant, 2/18/25.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
And now we would need a second.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. At this time, we will move on to item number 5. Our auditor and treasurer, please present the warrants.
Yes, the first item is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrant with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $86,194.16.
Very good. We need a motion to approve the commissioner warrants in that amount.
So moved.
Mr. Denny, motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Becker with a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
No, roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. I even wrote myself a note and I forgot to read it. We need roll call on that.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
The next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $65,827.96.
Okay. Before us is the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants. We need a motion in that amount as listed.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Naska. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $90,460.90.
Before us now is the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants and the amount as listed on the board action form. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman. Excuse me, Naska. I get the ends wrong. Naska. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
On the agenda this morning for Public Works is 3 very similar items, all award of construction contracts. The first one being a request to award a construction contract for our 2025 gravel surfacing construction projects. Our options are to approve the resolution or not approve the resolution. And our recommendation this time is to approve a construction contract to Swenson Aggregate Construction, LLC of Pine River, Minnesota for the 2025 gravel surfacing projects based on their low bid of $290,587.00.
Thank you, Lauren. So in front of us is to award the construction contract for the 25 gravel surfacing construction projects. You've seen the presentation. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Becker, thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, Lauren, I see it did come in under your bid or under your,
Under our estimate, yep, about 6%, I think.
yeah. And I know last year we gravelled more roads because of where the gravel was located, correct?
Yep.
And so how many miles of roads is it?
I don't have that listed here, but I would venture to guess probably 10 miles, give or
Okay.
take.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awarded.
Excellent, thank you. Second item on the agenda is a request for award of a construction contract for our 2025 dust control project. Our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution. And our recommendation is to approve a contract, or approve the resolution approving a contract to Knife River Corporation of Sauk Rapids, Minnesota for the dust control project based on the low bid of $118,565.29.
Thank you. The action ahead of us is to approve the dust control project for 2025. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll now take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, awarded.
Thank you. Our last item on the agenda is a request for award of a construction contract for a 2025 pavement marking project. Again, our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution. And our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution awarding a contract to Sir Lancelot LLC of Edina, Minnesota, based on their low bid of $167,555.04.
Thank you. The action ahead of us here is to approve the 25 pavement marking project to Sir something.
Sir Lancelot.
Sir Lancelot. The,
And yes, that is
Sir
a real
Lancelot.
name.
Gets an A+ for creativity on his name, in that amount of, as Lauren had mentioned. So is there a motion to do that?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Any discussion? Any discussion on this one? Hearing no discussion, can I get, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, it's awarded.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thanks, Lauren.
day, Nancy.
Good morning. I have one agenda item this morning. The County Ditch 27 hold harmless agreement for ditch maintenance. The attachments were sent for your review. Options are approve the hold harmless or do not approve the hold harmless agreement. The recommendation, the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority approves a hold harmless agreement petition from Bruce Ziedler to clean approximately 3,826 feet of the main ditch of County Ditch 27 on his parcels 2800-14100 and 2800-14400, and on Charles Dickey's parcel 28-00-14601, Wycombe Township, Section 16. The project will be done at his own expense. And that's just the section of the main ditch he wants to clean, and then the project pictures are below.
Everybody signed off and we're ready to go?
Yep.
Wonderful. So we have in front of us the opportunity to approve the hold harmless agreement on ditch maintenance.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Here, a second?
Second.
Commissioner Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion? Here, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
Nancy.
job.
Thanks, Nancy.
Always good to see you, Nancy.
Morning, Mitch.
Morning, Mitch.
So I just have one item for the day, and it's the new parking lot to go out for bids. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending to move forward with the parking lot project bidding process. The options are to approve to go out for bid for the parking lot project or do not approve request. The recommendation of the Todd County Board of Commissioners is to approve to go out for bid on the parking lot project. And I've attached the construction documents, just basically laying out, you know, what we're looking at doing.
So, if I may?
Yep, go ahead.
Basically, we got the hydrology test back, which allowed us to say we're ready to move forward.
So basically what we're doing is we'll be doing the hydrology testing and submitting that as part of the CUP for the city of Long Prairie. We are looking at going out for bids and we can reject or, you know, whatever at any time, but we're just going through the process. If we find a hiccup, we can always pull back on it. But getting out to bid, I think, is important for us to get on somebody's list for this summer. So,
Thank you.
If I could.
absolutely.
Yeah, on these pictures, is there a walking from the new parking lot across the street?
Yes, there is,
And
yep.
where's that going to go for sure?
So if you scroll down, yep, there should be more pictures and for some reason it's
Architectural picture.
fairly, for some reason you are, yep, keep going. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, seeing how you're, okay, right there.
Yeah,
So, it doesn't show it in this particular one, but the sidewalk will come from this point to the parking lot, sorry about that, parking lot of this point right here, and then across, right along this will be a concrete section to, for walkway, and then there'll also be like basically a crosswalk, and we'll be doing this to have basically a handicap accessible on the concrete. This will give us access from that parking lot. So the concrete will come off this corner, and it is attached, but it's further down in the attachment. So it comes off this corner, you'll be using it across, and then the sidewalk up on this particular. And then we do have it, one thing that we did discuss in the Facilities Committee meeting was sectioning it off, because one thing we're looking at doing is the hilltop parking as well. That'll just be an alternate that I wanted to have for the board. It was recommended by our Public Works Director, who deals obviously with this stuff a little bit more as far as tarring issues go, that we just put it in the project because of cost relations and the size of the project, so.
thank you.
Okay, then we would need a motion then to take this out to bid for Mitch.
I would actually make that motion to proceed to take out to bid.
Thank you, Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Any more discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you.
Morning, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
I have one board action on the agenda this morning. Sheriff's Office requesting opening up a temporary part-time jailer position. We have a jailer that was injured on the job.
Wait, hold on, Mike. You just said part-time, but it's listed as
I'm sorry,
full-time. Just make sure. Okay, thank you.
that is full-time.
Appreciate it.
We had a jailer injured on the job last year, the third or fourth quarter, and his return is up in the air. We don't know when he's gonna be back. So we're asking to fill that position to take care of our staffing issues, and then once that employee comes back, then we will at another opening, will just bring us back to the 8 full-timers, and we won't keep that 9 points. So the request is to open up that full-time jailer position. open that position or not, and our recommendation is to open that full-time temp together position for our position needs.
Okay. Motion is, we're looking for a motion to hire a full-time temp jailer based on the needs of the staffing. We need a motion to approve that.
A motion to approve.
Commissioner Noska with the motion and Commissioner Becker with the second. Any discussion?
Other than, we've done this before within your department, and it's worked out very well.
Worked out very well last
Yeah.
last time we did it, we was dispatch.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know in personnel that Mike cited this previous, so
Yeah.
that's why we moved it forward, so. Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mike. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.
Keep doing an amazing job. Adam?
Good morning.
Morning, Adam.
All right, my first item this morning is for the Taylor's Woods, third edition final plat and application for subdivision to create a three-lot plat on parcel 1100801010. I apologize, I have an extra zero in there, which is in Gray Eagle Township, was submitted on July 31st. Preliminary plat was approved by the Board of Commissioners on September 17th of 24 with the following conditions. Number one, that new accesses from the township road shall be approved by the local township prior to installation. New access locations shall be approved by Todd County wetland staff to verify there are no wetland impacts. And three, the applicant abide by other applicable federal, state, and local standards. Planning and zoning has completed a review of this proposal and determined it's ready for final platting. So the options are to approve the final plat as presented or deny the final plat. The recommendation is approval of the final plat as presented to establish Taylor's Woods, third edition.
Thank you. So we need to get a motion to approve the Taylor's Woods third edition final plat. May I get a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Denny, second. Anybody?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Any questions? Any discussion? Good, Randy? No discussion? Area? No discussion, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, next is the Hendricks Acres final plat, an application for subdivision to create 6 2-acre lots on parcel 1500450001 in Leslie Township was submitted on October 14th, 24. Preliminary plat was approved by the commissioners on December 17th with 3 conditions. New driveway access shall be approved by the local road authority prior to installation. 2, there should be no dwelling sites allowed within the development area. Development shall be limited to accessory structures. And 3, abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards. Planning and zoning has completed the review and determined that this is ready for final platting. Options are to approve the final plat as presented or deny, and the recommendation is approval of the final plat to establish Hendricks Acres.
Okay, so we need to create a motion for the Heinrichs?
I think it's Hendricks.
Heinrichs. Heinrich. Thank you. Heinrich's Acres final plat.
I'll move for discussion.
Did you make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah. I'll
I
move
got
for
caught up with the
discussion.
Heinrich's deal, sorry.
Yep.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Denny. Any discussion,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
please?
This is coming on County Road 10. Has the county engineer signed off on it?
Yeah, we send them the preliminary plat to comment on, and then also when we get the final plat, they look at it a second time. And Lauren did have some concerns about the corner lot with the access off of the highway, but it's gonna go on the township roadside, so there won't be an extra access, an unnecessary access onto the township tar, or the county tar.
The only concerns I got is this is coming into that northeast end of Lake Osakis where we have a lot of homes and stuff. And we're just continually adding more and more accesses to County Road 10.
Yep,
And they don't go very slow on County Road 10.
yep,
So just
Yep.
some concerns on as far as going on or access to County
Sure.
Road 10.
yep. Understood, and Lauren did get a chance to look at this multiple times, and we had some back and forth before we brought this here today, and he was comfortable with where we were at with it.
But Lauren did sign off on it.
Yeah, he's looked at it both prior to preliminary plat and prior to final platting here, both times.
Okay. All right.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay.
10.3.
Is the Miller request for CUP, an application for CUP to replace existing CUP number 2024-008 to include a sawmill operation, window manufacturing, horseshoeing and training, woodworking and machining was submitted on February 6th. The site is located on parcel 0700375500 in Eagle Valley Township. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 6th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the request with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission to grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, hours of operation of the sawmill shall be restricted to 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. Operation of the sawmill shall be conducted within a permitted structure. 3, outdoor storage of products shall be allowed, but shall be conducted in compliance with section 901B of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance. 4, heavy-duty truck traffic shall access the site via County 84 from the south. Northbound traffic from the site shall not be allowed for protection of the roadway. 5, operation site shall meet all required or setback requirements for the zoning district in which it's located. 6, there shall be no loading or unloading of materials within the road right-of-way. 7, the applicant shall establish truck route signage with Eagle Valley Township. 8, establishment of an exhaust system directed through the roof of the structure with inclusion of a muffler. And 9, the applicant abide by other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Thank you. Before us is to approve the Miller request for a cup. We would need a motion to do so. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Becker, seconded.
Have it.
And any discussion on this one, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. With the conditions that were listed there, Eagle Valley Township helped us, that evening, helped us structure those with all their input. So we appreciate them showing up and being part of that. And they were there for their constituents and also to encourage more business, so.
That's great. Good collaboration.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Approved. 10.4.
All right, Wardell's request for CUP, an application for CUP for temporary family housing on parcel 1500-12301 in Leslie Township was submitted on February 11th. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 6th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP, or 3, remand back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following condition, that the applicant shall abide by section 9.17 of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance, which is our temporary family housing section.
Okay, in front of us is the Wardell request for CUP. They're asking us to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions of section 9.17 for temporary housing, I guess, right? Temporary family housing. So we need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes, please.
I'm not really aware of the ordinance we have for temporary housing, so what is temporary?
It's truly temporary, so you can have a second dwelling on the property to temporary house maybe a parent or somebody that you want to take care of, that you're in
Right.
close relationship with. But when the house stops being used for that particular purpose, there's like 60 days or something that you have to remove it from the property. So it's truly temporary, but allows that through the CUP process.
Oh, okay, so temporary could be 20 years, it could be.
Right, it doesn't
what-
specify.
That's fine, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify for my knowledge.
And if I can
That was-
put a plug in, since we're on the topic, as we move forward with the comp plan and stuff, one thing I can envision us putting into our ordinance is interim use permits for this exact purpose, where when we set these conditions, we can say that use is done at this time. And there's different standards you can set for what the end date is, which makes it more clear, where a CUP really runs with the land forever. An interim use, the county can set an end date to it.
Right.
We do
and
not
that-
have
and
interim use
that
permits.
That makes a lot of sense, and
Yep.
if someone's in a situation where they need to have another interim permit, they can get it, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So
All right.
just something
Yeah.
on the horizon that I want to put a plug in for since we were on the
Yeah,
topic.
thank you. Thank you.
And it's temporary housing, like, that's permanent housing, that's structural, it's not,
You could do permanent. A lot of people will bring in a trailer home.
Okay,
They can it's easy to move off, easy to sell. Some people will do something temporary and then like gut it and re-permit it for a storage or whatever, but it has to, be not for dwelling purposes at that point ultimately.
thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 10.5, Hemstock.
All right, lastly is the Hemstock request for CUP, an application for CUP for installation of a ground-mounted solar energy system in excess of 120% of the annual energy consumption was submitted on February 12th. The site is located on parcel 09000950 in Germania Township. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 6th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following condition: that the applicant must obtain permitting and/or licensing from additional government agencies as necessary.
Thank you. The action ahead of us is to approve the, grant the CUP with that proposed conditions for this Hemstock request. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
And Noska on the second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Good day, madam. Administration?
All right. This is a board action form to rescind board action tracking number 202-50218-48. The board's options are to approve by motion the rescinding of the board action tracking number or to not approve.
Before us, we have the action to rescind that tracking number 202-50218-48. Have a motion to rescind?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 11-2.
All right, so the Todd County negotiations team met with AFSCME Health and Human Services union representatives, and they have successfully reached a tentative agreement. So key highlights of the agreement include the cost of Minnesota paid family and medical leave premiums will be shared equally between the employer and employees, with the employee portion deducted through payroll. Employer contributions for dependent coverage will continue to increase in line with previous trends. In 2025, single insurance will remain fully covered for employees, and then starting in 2026 and 2027, employees who choose the high-cost single plan will contribute $25 per month. A new 11-step salary schedule will take effect on the first full pay period in January of 2025, with employees placed on the step in their grade that provides an increase plus one additional step. Cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, are set as follows. 2.5% for 2025, 3.5% for 2026, and 3.0% in 2027. This is a 3-year contract. And a cap on 6 severance will be implemented for employees hired on or after January 1st of 2025. The board's options are to approve the AFSCME Health and Human Services 2025-2027 union contract, or to do not approve the AFSCME Health and Human Services 2025-2027 union contract. The recommendation would be to approve by motion, the adoption of the AFSCME HHS collective bargaining agreement for 2025 to 2027.
Okay, board, we have in front of us the action to approve the 2025 AFSCME Health and Human Services contract. We would need a motion to do that.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman. A second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, do we do roll call or just voice? Okay, hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Approved. 11.3, Public Works.
Okay, the Todd County negotiations team met with AFSCME Public Works union representatives, and they successfully reached a tentative agreement. The key highlights of the agreement include the cost of Minnesota paid family and medical leave premiums will be shared equally between the employer and employees, with the employee portion deducted through payroll. The employer contributions for dependent coverage will continue to increase in line with previous trends. In 2025, single insurance will remain fully covered for employees. Starting in 2026 and 2027, employees who choose the high-cost single plan will contribute $25 per month. A new 11-step salary schedule will take effect on the first full pay period in January of 2025, with employees placed on the step in their grade that provides an increase plus 1 additional step. And cost of living adjustments are set as follows: 2.5% in 2025, 3.5% in 2026, and 3.0% in 2027. Again, a 3-year contract. A cap on 6 severance will be implemented for employees hired on or after January 1st, 2025. Your options are to approve the AFSCME Public Works 2025-2027 union contract, or do not approve the AFSCME Public Works 2025-2027 union contract, and the recommendation would be to approve the following through motion.
Thank you. So we have the 2025 through 2027 AFSCME Public Works contract ahead of us to approve. Been recommended we approve. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the 25 through 27 AFSCME Public Works contract.
Motion made by Commissioner Becker. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Denny seconds. Do we have any discussion from our board? No discussion? No discussion is being brought forth, so we will, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Approved. 11.4.
Okay. The Todd County Board of Commissioners desire to set salaries for the appointed positions and the employees that are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. The wage recommendations on the attached resolution have been reviewed by the Personnel Committee. Your options are to approve the attached resolution setting the 2025 non-union and appointed official salaries, or to do not approve it. And the recommendation would be to approve the following by motion: the resolution setting the 2025 non-union and appointed official salaries. So can we bring that resolution up, Denise? Okay. And I misplaced my glasses, but I can see it, so thankfully. All right. The 2025 non-union employees and appointed officials' salaries, whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners are responsible for setting the compensation of county employees and appointed officials, and whereas the Todd County Board of Commissioners desire to follow the same pattern bargained with unions for the non-union, regular full-time employees and appointed officials, and whereas the implementation of the new 11-step salary schedule will take effect on the first day of the first full pay period in January 2025. Pay date is February 5th, 2025 for regular full-time employees. Employees will be placed at the step within their respective grade that provides a salary increase plus one additional step. Regular step increases will be granted starting the first day of the first full pay period worked in July. The pay date would be August 6th, 2025. Employees actively employed at the time this resolution is fully executed will receive retroactive wage increases dating back to the first full pay period in January of 2025. Additionally, a 2.5% general wage increase will take effect on the first day of the first full pay period in January 2025, applicable to all regular full-time employees whose salaries do not exceed the maximum of the salary schedule. Employees whose positions were changed as a result of a successful appeal due to the performance of higher level duties associated with a higher grade shall be placed on their step within the new higher grade under the 2024 Springstead salary grade before being placed on the 2025 Gallagher classification compensation salary grade as detailed above. So now therefore be it resolved that the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize the implementation of the new 11-step salary schedule will take effect on the first day of the first full pay period in January 2025 with a pay date February 5th, 2025 for regular full-time employees. Employees will be placed at the step within their respective grade that provides a salary increase plus one additional step. Regular step increases will be granted starting the first day of the first full pay period worked in July with a pay date of August 6, 2025. Employees actively employed at the time this resolution is fully executed will receive retroactive wage increases dating back to the first full pay period in January 2025. Additionally, a 2.5% general wage increase will take effect on the first day of the first full pay period in January 2025, applicable to all regular full-time employees whose salaries do not exceed the maximum of the salary schedule. Employees whose positions were changed as a result of a successful appeal due to the performance of higher level duties associated with a higher grade shall be placed on their step within the new higher grade under the 2024 Springstead salary grade before being placed on the 2025 Gallagher classification compensation salary grade as detailed above.
Take a breath, right? Okay, so we have the resolution before us. I would need a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Noska. And now we would need a second to move forward.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Denny. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, approved. This time we'll go on to standing reports. County Auditor Treasurer report, please.
Today I can report that the township's elections were held last week and results were submitted to our office. We have Clifton Larson Allen on site this week. In fact, they're in the next room. So offices need to be prepared and be on staff for questioning that they might have. As well as commissioners, they will probably call a commissioner in for a half-hour interview just to go through items. They select somebody, so just be prepared if you get called in. Tax statements should be out in the mail later this week, and also a reminder, Osakas 213 has their school election coming up April 8th. If anybody's looking to absentee vote, they need to contact the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. That it? Wonderful. County Attorney report, please.
Mr. Chair, nothing to report today, thank you.
Moving on, County Coordinator report, please.
I attended the Wellness Committee. I've been working on scheduling a second employee lunch and learn session for later this month. I also attended Personnel Committee, PAYCOM presentation preparation, a department head meeting, and then also attended training on our new website.
Thank you. Busy, busy. County Commissioners report. How about we start to my right, Mr. Noska?
Basically, for me, it was pretty much business as usual, other than, with community corrections, we did fill our supervisor position internally, so it was nice to move somebody up there and, get them in position to do some good things, so now we've just got, some other openings below.
Upward mobility in Todd County. Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Deja.
Denny.
It was packed full, a lot of meetings, last few weeks and stuff, but it was nice to actually meet with some department heads, sit down one-on-one and go through their department and actually understand their schedule and their livelihood better. Also want to thank Commissioner Noska for some of his efforts to the Fair Board, doing some collaboration with some local people around the area to make the Todd County Fair that much better. So Luke's put in a lot of work, and we appreciate him for doing that. So other than that, yeah, those were the highlights, and on to you. Pass on.
Commissioner Becker, go ahead.
Yes, I attended the facility meeting on the 7th, which we discussed the parking lots. Had a correction meeting on the 10th. Attended the Moran Township annual meeting and had some discussion about fire departments and so forth, which I was able to talk with we also had the Rainbow Rider meeting on the 13th, and in the process of once again rebuilding our bus garage. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Newman, please.
Yes, I attended the CPT Zoom meeting on the 11th for personnel. On the 12th, had a park board meeting. On the 13th, solid waste meeting, and also Rainbow Rider. And we will be opening bids for the third time on April 11th or 10th. So third time's a charm, right?
That's right.
All has to do with meeting the federal standards.
Yes.
Wow. Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you. As everyone had been pretty busy, let's see, different meetings that we attended was the facilities meeting with Barb, Todd Development Corporation. We had a meeting to talk about our upcoming annual get-together. Had interviews for road deputies with Mike and his team. Continue to work on getting their staffing where they need to be so that we're safe and sound. Parks and Trails met. Also, we had personnel department head meeting, which I thought was a good meeting. Got to spend some time with Kathy Langer, with Tim, and then I also met with the mayor of Long Prairie about some joint efforts. And then the most funnest thing I did was I went on a soil water interview out at Jeff Rindy's farm, and we did interviews on the farm. That was way better than doing them in those conference rooms, let me tell you. So that was fun. Had a little fun. So that's it for me. At this point, I'd ask for adjournment. Just
Adjourned.
need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Denny, motion, Commissioner Newman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Chris, we're a little ahead of schedule, so maybe give us a couple minutes and, I don't know, Mike will probably be joining you.
Running a tight ship today, Bob. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And we are, get your coffee and feed your horses, whatever you gotta do.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dacia will be a good fit. I like to see us promoting internally like that and working with our employees to benefit them. These management thing.
Announce that you're gonna open the work.
I don't get into too far into the weeds on that stuff.
Okay.
Okay, good morning. We're going to reopen our Board of Commissioners work session now at, time is 9:48. First up would be our colleagues, Chris and Mike.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
Out now?
Okay, so thank you for your time this morning. Mike usually presents on our progress on the project. I don't know if you've driven by recently, but the project is coming along very well. The building, the administration building is up.
Yep.
Maybe I'll let you do this. Can you do that part?
Yeah, the administration building is they're 95% complete. They're currently working on the tile on the flooring as they work through that building, and once the tiling is done, then they will do the incidental plumbing that is left, which is basically hooking up faucets and that kind of thing, installs the toilets, that minimal stuff, and then they're gonna start putting water to the facility and then testing the sprinklers and all that stuff. And once that's operational, then it's pretty much complete. I will be bringing a board action in front of you shortly regarding the furniture that will be installed in the facility, which we used Innovative. John with Innovative helped us, and Mitch was a big part of that. And Lisa Partika also helped me stage that. So that's coming. So that would, otherwise than that,
that building itself is pretty much done. So right now, we're just anticipating working on the outside work once the frost comes out. They will be making a pour probably tomorrow on the inside of the building, the driving lanes on the residential part. So they've already got the one end poured on the east side for the HHW, so they're moving right along right now. That really helpful with this type of weather that we're having right now, so. So yeah, otherwise it's going well. Yep.
So one of the items that we wanted to talk to you about is basically a review of the contingency funds and our progress with items that weren't originally in the project, and also items that were, like how they, like equipment, how they priced out, so that you can see if we're behind or ahead or behind on those finances. So I'm not sure which to begin with. Maybe the first to begin with, if it's okay, is just the overall project. Mike has a spreadsheet here that he's gonna give you a copy of. This.
Excuse me, are you doing the update memo or are you doing the project summary?
The project summary, yep. I mean, they all go together, so I apologize if there's any confusion on this. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So a little bit of what we're trying to do is we're watching all the pots of money for where we're spending money, and we're watching the pots of money for where the revenue is coming from. So just to go through this on the top of the page, high-tech construction, their original contract was for $7.8 million. And as of our March pay request, they've spent about 5.3. So they're at, you know, just in terms of dollars and cents, they're at 68% completion of the project. As we look at their progress, I would say that they are on schedule. You know, there's little bits and pieces that are ahead and behind, but overall, they're on schedule. The goal or the contract is to be substantially complete in August, is that correct?
That is correct.
So the next big contract we have is with Stantec. They did the designing, but they're also doing construction administration. So if you can see there, they're at, contract was $625,000. They're at $525 spent. And the remaining is for completion of the project, so they're at 84%. That might look like they're ahead, but that's because a lot of their expense was in the design and bidding phase. So again, we don't see a problem there. Equipment and supplies, and these numbers that I've been describing where it says amount, those are numbers that were in the original budget that we provided before we awarded this project back in, I think it was March of last year. So in that, we did a breakdown of equipment that we needed. And so there's a further detailed list down below, but that equipment was originally budgeted at $1,080,000. You know, as we've come to you with each individual item that Mike has researched out, and you'll see those items below, that number has gone up a little bit. And I'll let Mike go through those details below because he's done all the work on that. But we're a little bit over budget on that. I'm not concerned about it, just for the fact that I know Mike has done a great job and we've come to you with each of those pieces of equipment. And then furniture and IT supplies. Our original budget was $75,000. Honestly, I think that was mostly a by gosh and by golly. How do you decide how many tables and chairs? So I just appreciate Mike. I think he's made it sure that the number comes in on budget because, you know, essentially we don't want to spend more than we have. And then the big one that I'll get to later in the next memorandum is contingency. Again, it's hard to speculate on what your contingency should be, but you know, as we consult with Stantec, we came up with a 6% contingency. That's $577,000. Right now, as of today, approved by the board, that table there shows 352, but that number is including I'm looking at my other table. That's including another item that we'll be presenting in the next memorandum. So we're not quite that far, I think, on contingency, but we'll get to that later. So then on that, getting back to that equipment, just, I thought it would be, or Mike's done a good job of tracking this, so if we could just go through that equipment budget list of what we've got there, what was the original, and what we have now. Did I turn that over to you?
Sure. I guess the key code that's on the bottom kind of gives you a description where we're at through board action forms and what's actually been spent and what is proposed purchases, and also the board approved unpaid. So some of that equipment has been ordered, but we won't see payment from our account until we receive that equipment, which will probably be sometime in May. So the wheeled excavator is obviously ordered through board action approval, and I anticipate that to be delivered sometime late April, first part of May. The first truck, semi, is on the grounds, and the 2 trailers, so that has been purchased and paid for with taxes and licenses. So them are the first 2, and then the next purchase, which we just approved through board action, is for the next set of truck and trailers. And then, which we were fortunate that the cost of the trailers actually went down, so it offset the price of the cost increase in the truck. So that kind of gives you a really general idea of where we're at. The Bobcat L95 series, which we've discussed quite a bit in length in our committee meeting level, is we're just waiting for board approval on that. We have some discussion on that yet remaining. So we have not brought that to board for approval, but it's just a piece of equipment that we would need to shuttle our materials from the transfer station to our recycling facility. So it's a little bit more involved with that. But, and then you can see on the lower portion of it, the office supplies. I mean, it kind of tells you where we're at. And both of those are proposed. I'll be bringing them to you shortly with them as also. And the drop bins, them are the bins that we will be using in the residential lanes where they will sort everything at the vehicle at that point. So that's the cost of 10 bins to be built. So is there any questions for that? And also on the very bottom, the original budget was improved with 1 semi and 3 trailers, but you know, after research with multiple facilities that we were gonna need the 4 trailers to be able to keep up with capacities. So back in May, we approved that and we went ahead and decided to go ahead with 4 trailers. And then we were looking at a cost of, in the original budget, of $50,000 for a used truck. But committee level and multiple discussions we had, we decided to go ahead and purchase new because we had a hard time finding anything viable for that $50,000 price range. We were looking more like 80 to 100. Well, through the state bid process, it was advantageous for us to go ahead and buy new. So that kind of offsets that $1,277,000 that we're at. So we spent about another $180,000 between those two by buying that extra trailer and increasing cost of trucking. So.
Okay, any questions so far? We could go faster, but we just want to show that we've been tracking this, so appreciate you listening in. So the next one, just on a really high level, there is stuff that we knew about from the beginning that I would say from June of last year that we've even shared at a work session, but we never got numbers from the contractor. So we have about, I'm gonna count here, 1, 2, 3, we have literally 6 possible contingency-related expenses that would be either for a change order to high-tech or for equipment purchases. And within those 6, I wanna go through them. Essentially, they would eat up almost all of the contingency. Of those 6, I would say that 4 are almost non-negotiable. There are things, and I'll describe them, that I don't know that there's a choice what you do with it, or my recommendation is like, they've done this work, it was discussed with you, they just didn't provide us the paperwork. And as I go through these, I'd prefer that you just, I'll pause to let you know or to ask questions after each one. The last 2, I would say, I recommend, Mike has brought them forward, they're really important value added to the project, but they're truly not things that, well, it's not things that High Tech has done. It's not equipment we've purchased. So they're probably the bigger discussion points, where we wanna, I mean, it's ultimately your decision what you wanna do. But getting to the first page, I've listed 5 items that are high-tech related. The first one says Minnesota Power relocation of electrical power, $34,000, 491 cents. So what that is that there was an overhead power line that went through the property to the existing building, and that went through the project area. And so when they started the project, they had to take that out, and then they had to relay, or they actually buried the power into the site and put in a transformer. So we discussed this with Stantec. They said that is not a high-tech cost. We shared this with the board at work session. At the beginning, it was estimated that was $60,000 of work. High-tech didn't provide us a request for change order. They just, to keep the project moving, they just paid the money. So that one, in my mind, having discussed it with Stantec, having reviewed the specifications, it wasn't included in their work, but they paid for it. It was estimated at 60,000 based on some realignment. They were able to get the actual cost down to 34,491. We have the invoice from Minnesota Power. Essentially, it's a pass-through cost. That needs to, now that we've received that information, we got that in the last 4 weeks. Now that we have that, we need to bring it to board for a change order. So I'm gonna pause and let you guys ask questions about that.
I guess I'll comment. I think that's a very reasonable price to bury a power line and get rid of that overhead line. I mean, it's nice not to see that anymore and not to have it there in the way of.
Yep.
I mean, for a change order, that's something that, I mean, it's a benefit in the end also, so. I don't think that one's too bad.
I wish we didn't have to pay it, but.
Well, right, but I think, you
it's
know,
the cost
getting rid of that
doing the
overhead
project.
power is not a bad deal either.
Yeah, and they're our utility company. Like, I don't know if you've ever argued with a utility company, but if you don't wanna pay them to do the work, they don't do the work. And they said that, they said, unless someone signs this work order, we're not gonna come and relocate the line. So. Any other questions on that? Next one is plumbing plan review. So I went back and looked at these dates. We really were not informed of this, or I don't have any notes of this from last year, but I went through their meeting minutes, and I don't attend all our construction meetings, but they did comment on this during the project at their construction meetings. And I looked back at the dates of submittals. Stantec did a very good job. They submitted a plan review application to the Department of Labor and Industry, basically the day that we opened bids. I think I have that date in here. February 8th. And we awarded the project on March 19th. So even before, a month before we awarded to High Tech, Stantec, the engineer, got this stuff in. It took the Department of Labor 4.5 months to process that permit. So I'm not here to criticize the Department of Labor, but as I've discussed this with Stantec and with High Tech, for the sake of the progress of a the total project's a $10 million project, High Tech made an executive decision and informed us about it, that they moved forward with those plumbing, there were structures, and that had an expense to us. Now, I also read the review from the Department of Labor. They added multiple oil water separators. I've seen this on other transfer station projects. Essentially, you're at the mercy of the plan reviewer. I've seen other projects where they just have one oil separator. So Stantec had proposed one. Department of Labor decided we need 3. So there's receipts and proof of that the Department of Labor required more than was in the original bidding document. So again, looking for your comments on that, or what questions more you would have.
What was the cost of the difference?
It's right here. under this row that says plumbing plan review, $48,575.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may. Yeah. So you're saying that because of the plan review and the revisions that they had, it added 48,000 to the, okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, right.
And if they wouldn't have made the executive decision, we might have been waiting those extra 3 months between, because you said it took 4 months for the Department of Labor to approve it.
That's correct.
So we could have been twiddling our thumbs for 3 more months.
And what do the separators actually do?
I'm sorry.
What do the separators actually do? You know, we had one and they wanted 3, so
Yep.
what's their job, I guess?
Well, any one of them it's an industrial application, and the theory is that if you have like a truck that leaks oil, when it goes into this, I'm gonna call it a box, the oil separates, and then there's the outlet for that is below the top of the water, so the water will leave, and then you can accumulate oil on the top. And generally, whether it's Mike's staff or a third party, someone checks that maybe once or twice a year, and they'll pump off that, it'll be gasoline or oil or any hydrocarbon off the top. The funny thing is they're trying to prevent it from going into a wastewater treatment facility. Well, we're not connected to one. It would go into our septic system, which isn't good either. You don't want, gasoline or oil going there. And so that's what it's protecting. Why they want 3? I mean, I've seen other code reviews that, I'm just gonna say the law itself is not black and white, it's subjective, and each reviewer, we're not gonna say they're bad people, but they're trying to review it for your benefit. We have HHW in the building. I would guess part of it is that they just wanted some additional layers of protection because you have these additional chemicals that they wanna make sure don't get into your drain field.
Is it kind of over-engineered then?
Yeah.
You could say that.
Let's just call it as it is,
And if we have a spill, someday we might come back to you and say, we're really glad that we had that. So,
I mean,
Understandable, when the state hands it down, you have no choice, but it's.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
This is very common in the plumbing world where I
Okay.
came from. This is very common that because it's at the eye of the beholder, that they'll change something unbeknownst to you and make you do things that you would never expect to do. So it doesn't shock me what this is saying. Like this is common from my own practice. This is very common in the state. So unfortunately,
Yeah.
very.
Who sells those separators?
Right?
maybe his
That's all
uncle.
right, I'm good.
Yeah.
Do my own research. Okay, any other questions on the plumbing for the team?
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. So pre-engineered building and foundation, again, a lot of these are kind of part of the industry that we're working in, not solid waste, but the nature of the building. So when you bid out a project like this, there's a dozen different building manufacturers that sell pre-engineered metal buildings. And they're all a little bit different. So because we're a public agency and we're doing advertising for bidding, we don't name that building manufacturer. We actually or our consultant designed a foundation that they figured was a healthy foundation for any one of those building manufacturers. And then when the project is awarded, the contractor's building manufacturer analyzes the building that you wanted, with the doors and the places and the wind loads and all this, and they actually have to review the foundation design. In doing that, it's called building reactions. And when they came back, they decided that those walls in some places had to be thicker or more rebar. Again, this is a different part of construction, but I've seen this before. It's not unusual, and they did tell us about this. They've notified us this was coming. We just didn't receive the numbers until the last month. So they're asking for $37,115.91. We've discussed it with Stantec. They said this is, again, on High-Tech's $7.8 million project. For them to ask for $37,000 based on that review process, they said is very normal. they recommended that we give them a change order for it. So questions?
I don't really have a question, it's kind of a comment, you know, I get that 37,000 on 7.5 million, but when you get 37 here, 48 here, 64 here, whatever, now we're talking $250,000. So let's
Yep.
put it in perspective. 37 is one thing, but the accumulation amount is something to
Yep,
the county and their people, so.
absolutely.
You
And
know,
we're-
and it almost seems like 2 and 3 are basically, you know, like we're in California or something. We're gonna have earthquakes, we're gonna have wildfires, we're gonna have what? I mean, what do you call the disturbance or reactions?
Reactions, yeah.
I mean, anything reacts if you hit it with a dozer or something.
Yep, it's mostly like what they're looking at, one is wind loads, so you want to design the building for a specific wind. And then the other part of it, at least I'm trying to think of ways to visualize this, is every building is different because of where you put the doors. So with that, they actually have to figure out where the forces are because of those doors, because those doors are weak points in the building, so.
I guess my question is, as they're designing it, is it not their job to figure this out?
No,
As they're designing it?
no.
No.
And that's the part that to me is hard to explain, but when they design it, they don't know which building manufacturer. Stantec does not design the building, they only design the foundation. And the building itself is designed by the building manufacturer. And so they're not even part of the party until after you award the bid. So they come back and they review that foundation, and then you marry these two pieces. It sounds bizarre, but I've done other building projects, I've done medical buildings, I've done commercial buildings, and this is a common phase of the project.
It's very educational and it's also perplexing because, like, you know, the word reaction is just so, I mean, come on. I sneeze, that's a reaction. You know, I gotta put 3 separators in because there's some type of reaction, regulation, whatever. It is what it is, but you know, I know it's nothing, your team's doing an amazing job of getting this building on track, on time, within numbers, so it's just a comment. Go ahead, proceed, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next one is finished floor elevation change. This actually, I was surprised that it was a zero-cost change, but there was an error in the design drawings. The administrative building was shown in 2 different elevations on 2 different drawings. So when you have 2 different elevations, then which one do you build it to? Well, they picked one, and it didn't quite work everywhere. So at no cost to the county, Stantec redesigned everything to fit the elevation they used, and High Tech charged nothing to the county for adding additional sidewalks and railings to accommodate that change. Any questions on that one? That was an easy one. Okay, so those first 4, in my own opinion, those first 4 would potentially be I don't know how to defend a position of not paying them. Those are things that they did the work, they communicated with us, they were acting in good faith on your benefit. This next one we have not approved, and if it isn't built, the world will go on fine. It's not, there's no obligation. But as we've looked at the project through the course of this, and as Mike has seen and toured and viewed different facilities and talked to different managers, one thing that was not included in the project was to actually put steel on the inside of the building. So as we've seen other projects, while it's an unheated building, there's still like a batting on the walls. It looks like plastic. I'm not sure how else to describe it, but throughout the building, as we've looked, and I've seen this in other buildings too, birds get into that, and then in the loadout area where you load, some of the garbage will fall against it and it tears it out. So.
Is it like milk board?
It's actually like a soft layered insulation. It's almost like, it's technically a rolled insulation is what it is, but it has a white finished water barrier on the outside. But it's soft. And you can't wash it, you can't touch it, you can't do anything with it, otherwise it tears. We actually have it in the existing building that's out there now, and that's why most of that insulation falls over time, lets loose and that kind of thing. So that's kind of, on the east end of the building, there was liner that was part of the initial cost, just because that's where the HHW facility will be and the reuse store. So that's already been lined, but that's where the issue comes in with, is durability of long-term.
So, and there's some advantages to putting it in now versus, you know, another option that we discussed is putting it in later ourselves or hiring someone. But part of the change order includes about $10,000 of adjustments for the wiring, because once you put that on, you have to think about how the wiring and the conduit and the fittings are. So if they put all that stuff in, then it'll be hard to line it later. And that cost there, we've got another page to show how this affects the contingency, but it's $66,745 was their quote to do that work. Any more questions on this page?
I do, and I understand why you'd want to put it in, very understandable. I mean, we did kind of the same thing with the expo building out here with that soft insulation and whatever went through it. How are we going to pay for it?
How would we pay for it?
Yeah.
Thank you for that leading question.
Oh, very good.
So we're gonna move to page 3 of this memo, and it's table 2. It's called contingency fund balance and proposed expenses. So at the beginning of the project, you're like, boy, we've worked so hard to put this together, there's nothing is gonna change. Well, but we followed the process. The process is, and if you look state and federal, they always want a contingency. So we put aside 6%, which is $577,000. Now that money is money that would be spent out of the solid waste department's enterprise fund, not out of levy dollars. And we've came to you in March and we went through all these numbers, and that was apportioned by resolution. So then I've got in the table before you, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 expenses that we've already done. They're committed, they're ordered, that money is essentially irrevocably been committed to. And so you see in those rows on the right, or excuse me, columns on the right, it shows the expense and then what the remaining balance is of that fund. So the first one, and this was my fault that I forgot, is we had to pay Bolton and Mink for the water main design, because they did it for the city, and I didn't include that in any of our expenses. $14,813. And we paid for previously a forklift and grapple attachment that was out of this fund. The next one is special structural testing. We came before the board for this. It was a change order to Stantec, because that was a commitment in the bidding documents, is we, the owner, paid for special structural testing. Next one is Browerville CQA, so that's where Bolton and Mink watched the water main go in on behalf of their client, the city of Browerville. $8,172. Next one is those additional expenses on equipment that Mike has already reviewed with you. He bought 1 additional trailer, and instead of a used semi, they purchased a new semi. So at that point, that's the point where we're at now. There's a remaining balance of $282,438. The next 4 items that are in bold: Minnesota Power, plumbing plan review, pre-engineered building, finished floor elevation changes. Those first 4 we've talked about, and essentially in my mind are, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I think if you told High Tech that you wouldn't pay them, we would have bigger issues and we'd have to get Attorney Lindeman involved. So with those 4 based on our conversations, I didn't hear any objections. That would bring us down to a contingency of $162,000. The last one that we talked about was a change order to High Tech for interior liner panels for $66,000. That would bring our contingency down to $95,000. So Commissioner, to answer your question, to pay for that, it would be money out of the solid waste enterprise fund in our contingency balance. Does that make sense? And then because it wouldn't be a change order to High Tech, I didn't list it on the previous page, but the other item that Mike has talked about, but we haven't ordered, and we wanted to make sure that you are aware of this and have this all laid out for you before we got to it, is, have you talked with them at any level? Or we've talked at committee level, but we haven't talked to you at board level about this last piece of equipment. So do you want to share on that?
Yeah, basically this type of machine, we are going to downsize the recycling facility. We currently use 3 skid loaders and 2 forklifts. So the purchase of the equipment is necessary for transporting the materials from the new transfer station to the recycling facility once we start opening up those residential lanes. So we're going to use these 5-yard bin containers that people sort their stuff when they come in through the building. So we have to have a way to transport that material. So this cost is basically what we are going to combine the purchase of a new forklift and part of our 5-year capital replacement plan on a skid loader and combine that purchase into one machine, therefore getting rid of 1 skid loader long-term. But it is a type of machinery that we can use. I've had multiple discussions with Mitch Johnson on facilities just for snow removal, because we're going to have a lot larger capacity to move snow, and we have to have a way to clean our floor in the residential drive-throughs when it's wet in the winter snow. So this type of machine allows us to have that quick attachment, so we can use a power broom and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the background on that piece of equipment. So between the purchase of a new forklift and a Bobcat, you're looking at $120,000. And being able to combine the 2 pieces of equipment, we're saving quite a bit of money, and plus you're having 1 machine do the work of 2. It's not something we need right now. There's like a 3-month lead time on that if they can't find one. So ideally, we'd like to have it on the ground sometime in May, June. Just once we get a little deeper in knowing when we're going to open. But it's been discussed whether we move it ahead and use it for our 2026 budget through capital expenditures. If we want to go that route with that cost, that's something that we can discuss as well. But that's kind of the background on a piece of equipment. And the other thing that we're trying to get away from is since I've been there, we've had multiple close calls. Everybody knows how to climb in and out of a skid loader, correct? And of course, at our MRF facility, it gets wet, the floor gets wet. We've had guys step out of the machine onto the grapple attachment and slip and fall off there because your boots are wet. And it's difficult to get in and out of the Bobcat machine as well. So this is a side entry machine, so you don't have to worry about trying to climb in and out. It's a lot safer. And it's also, looking down the road, is being able to utilize this machine in assistance with our compost facility as well. So it's a big game changer as far as overall operations of our facility.
So if I were to have a recommendation, I come here, Mike is the boots on the ground guy. And I'm in between you in that I want to support Mike because I know he does a good job, but I want to be careful to be thoughtful of what you think and what the taxpayers think. So in the recommendations, what I suggested, unless you have more questions or other opinions, is if we could pay for that not out of contingency, just pay for it out of our 26 capital improvement fund. We put aside $250,000 a year that we've been building our equipment and paying it for this project. We're gonna have, there's just a lot of changes how it's run, which has required these purchases. But we would just not spend that money next year because we'd have paid it ahead. We have the balance in our enterprise fund, and then it's not coming, we're leaving more money, space and contingency because the project's not over.
I would be cautious, because I mean, I'm looking at 21,293.59 is 3% of your, 3% left of the contingency fund. And you're not done it yet. I gotta imagine, help us Lord, it doesn't, but I gotta imagine there's gonna be one, if not more, change orders coming through, they'll eat through that 21 in a heartbeat.
Right.
And this is one commissioner saying, the pre-engineered building and foundation proposed $37,000, I'd go back and split the baby with them and tell them, listen, I understand you did the foundation, where's the coordination with the builder? I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't get paid, I'm asking if that's the right number to get paid, which leaves you room on the back end too to maybe do some of these things. And, you know, the Bobcat's kind of the, hey, I want it, we could use it. It sounds like there's some future planning, which may help if we have to consolidate any of our other counties bringing stuff over, or whatever, I don't know what that looks like. But I'd be biting my nails if I only had 3.6% left as of tomorrow, whenever day.
Okay, I guess my question, after going through this, I did not see where that 18% overpayment in equipment, where's that coming from? Because isn't that around 200,000, the equipment that you overspent by 118%?
If I could approach the,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, it's this forklift and grapple, and that was a board action that was quite a while ago. So that's why I listed that separate. And then I just ran out of rows, so I put all the rest of them on. This is the trailer and semi, so it's.
Okay,
It's
so
a combination of those.
So that 18% over is already in this chart that we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what my question was.
We don't want you to feel pressure to do, if you don't want us to spend something, I'd rather you tell us that, to keep our relationship and to be safe on the project. So we're here to look for your feelings and input and recommendations.
And Mr. Chair, at the meeting on Thursday, at the solid waste meeting on Thursday, you know, I expressed a little concern about using contingency funds for purchasing of equipment. And that's why we brought up using the 2026
Capital.
funds. You know, as we get closer to that August finish date, I mean, we can relook at this. But until then, I mean, we don't know, like you said, what we're gonna get hit with. They could find something outside that.
I mean, we think everything's great. What if you get some torrential downpour and all of a sudden we find that something was just, everything's piling up in one spot, water or,
Well,
I don't know, just.
and one of them was where we backed the trailers in. They were supposed to put the wall 3 feet above
Yep.
the level of the ground, and they put it flush. Well, if somebody walks over there, they're gonna go kaploop.
3 foot.
Yeah, so it's 3 feet too short.
3.5.
3.5.
So, you know, who's gonna fix that? And so, concerns.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I agree with Commissioner Newman. We talked about on last Thursday about using that for capital improvement for 26, which I'm fine with that, but also just want to comment on those interior panels. There is a facility that just went up less than 2 years old with very similar settings, and it looks like it's 45 years old right now.
I can understand that. You know, with the expo building, we worked with that type of material in there, and the birds and everything else went through that insulation. Yeah.
If I may add also to Mr. Denny's comments is, you know, when Mitch and Lauren Feldbaum, we walked through the facility, when I first initially was concerned with it is, you know, that insulation is offset to the girders too. So you got a 6-inch girder, and that's where you get a lot of debris hanging up, and then you get tons of birds nesting in there because the facility is open all the time. And the problem is, again, going back to Mr. McConn's comments again, is right now they have no electrical run, so it's very quick and easy for them to install it. I mean, it's, you know, again, it's your guys' decision, but I really want to make sure that I do my job to recommend what really should be done now, because it's, if we do it later, it's really cost ineffective to pull all that electrical loose and then put steel up and do that kind of thing. But, you know, we have done a really good job of creating a new image for that facility down the road, and then you're gonna open the doors. And like Tim said, when I went to Park Rapids, which was 2 years open at that time, I was really shocked about the debris all over the walls because the winds blow through there very strongly. They had bags hanging all over. And the other issue that they had was at Clay County as well, when the doors were open, the plastic bags that, you know, people use and they throw in the garbage, they were getting caught in their exhaust fans and into their ceiling lights. They actually had electrical fire because the bags melted into the lighting because they'll float around in there, and they got caught into their fans, which we have to evacuate air. It changes the air in that facility. So it's a pretty, you know, important decision for us to really figure out what we want to do there.
Mike, hearing that, excuse me, your interior panels, are they tin then, or metal, or what are they?
Yep, that is correct. It would be just like the outside steel sheeting of the building, but just a white, but it's a secondary steel option. They're not as rigid. It's an interior panel is what they rated it at, but.
But it's something if you want a high-pressure wash, you could. And so
Exactly, and you can clean it, all those things. And I know the one facility that does have it, they said it really works well because they can just simply use a leaf blower to blow the dust off and you're done. And if you have any maintenance issues, it's a flat surface. But the open girders and then the bag floating problem is something I was not aware of. So that was something really interesting to learn. Thank you.
We have a question from our
I
comment.
just had a comment regarding the liner seal. To me, this is something that is a maintenance for the future, and it's gonna prolong the building, and that's, when you're building something new, especially when you have a chance to do this, I feel as somebody that's a part of our facilities management, this is a long-term solution, slam dunk. Like, this is something that we wanna do to prolong the life of the building. Clearly, at the Expo building where we have, it's identical liner, is what it is, it's rolled out liner, so it does get brittle over time, it becomes more brittle, especially when it's exposed to sunlight and those type of things. So, when Mike explained to me what they're looking at, I just felt like long-term, for the best interest of the county, this is what it is.
Okay. Any other comments?
We're building this building for efficiency within the county, so I understand where the changes are coming in with the design and equipment, try to make it as efficient as possible. I hate to put up a $7.8 million building and then just kind of, you know, nonchalantly halfways.
Clearly, work should be done prior than
Yeah.
doing all the electrical runs and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
no question about timing of it, so.
Yeah.
Anything else, anyone? Good?
So Chair, unless anyone asks us to do anything differently, we would come back to the board with this memo and then just, I would assume there's some multiple board actions. You know, one would be the change orders for high tech and one would be the Bobcat compactor. If there's anything differently than you want, when we didn't understand you correctly, let me know.
I just want to make sure I understand when you come back, whether it's the two that represent that, if we're taking this from 2026, please somebody pencil that out for me specifically. I'm kind of a, we talk about it, but I got to see it on paper type guy.
So, Mr. Chair, are we gonna request these guys to bring back that change order for the interior liner panels at the next board meeting? If we're gonna move that forward? Do we have to approve
I'm
that?
assuming everybody wants to move that forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How about your wall that you talked about, that's 3.5 foot difference, we should, you know, where's it? At what point does that come in front of the board? And how are we going to change it?
Yes, Commissioner, and I've already pushed back with multiple emails. It was in the drawings. I don't know why we would be paying for it.
Okay.
And I've asked them several questions, and I want to not bring it to you till I have a full understanding of their position, because I don't see that as a county expense.
I do think you're, the equipment, is that contingency or not contingency? I do kind of like that line of reasoning, because that's not necessarily contingency for building of this building, so. So, yeah, I guess bring lantern panels back.
Yeah.
Let's get,
I have one more question. Would you like to have Bruce Paulson from Stantec here, at least virtually, to answer any questions you have on the change orders? Because they're kind of our advisor on the project.
I guess I defer to you. If you think that's gonna be what we need, good.
I would like to invite him, and then if there's no questions, at least he was there to,
Yeah,
available.
very well.
Okay.
We all good?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Let's get Mitch moved up. Let's put Mitch up before, Paycom, okay? All right, good. We're on the same page.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Amazing day.
Add something onto the attachment. That will just do this, gives you an idea of what we're looking at financially.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, first we'll start with why I'm here. I'm here to talk and discuss from the facilities side of things, Facilities Committee. It was brought that we should bring the courthouse exterior repairs to work session. And basically, I'll just approach the monitor and we'll just kind of run through it, what we're looking at doing, and then get your perspective on where you'd like to see this headed. At the end, I'll go through the funds, the funding source and where this could possibly come from. So with that being said, Jolene, if you would just keep scrolling through. So this has been brought to my attention by the former board. If you could better center that, that would be great, Jolene. About the repairs that are coming on the cupola and the historic trim, and some of the windows that are in need of replacement. Unfortunately for us, we're bound and by state statutes. We're on the registry, so we have to do all of the product has to be approved by the Historical Society. So our professional services, Winseth, has been doing that, and we're at the point now of the project is designed, ready to go, but we just want to make sure that you are understanding what we're doing. So anything that is highlighted here or dash is what we'll be looking at doing. You can continue to scroll, Jolene, just as I talk. Cupola area, one of the things that's very disheartening about this project is just getting at the material, right? So like on the east side here, it's very, very steep. Scaffolding doesn't work, so it's gonna take a crane from the north street. So it gets very costly because of how to access the trim and what we're going about. You can keep scrolling, Jolene. And we're just highlighting the areas, the trim, the windows. The cupola will be completely rebuilt. But with the trim that's on there, it's all basically custom-made trim from back in the day. So when we go and we have this produced, they'll have to produce a certain amount of it. When we originally looked at doing this, we were just looking at, well, let's just take the cupola, for instance. Let's do that. And the discussions with contractors, they're like, you're paying for the setup of the equipment to do a run of the historic trim. You're gonna pay for, let's say we need 20 feet. You're gonna pay for 100 feet regardless of what you're doing. So we're better off doing the whole project instead of just doing partial. And that's where we come into the cost effectiveness. So this is what we're kind of looking at. The biggest thing is, keep scrolling, Jolene, the condition of it and kind of where it's sitting. We've talked about it multiple times in multiple years. Unfortunately, we've got to do windows, which are custom as well, because of the historic value and those type of things. So I'm kind of at the point right now is, where do you want me to go with it? The cost that we're estimated is around $480,000 coming from Winseth. That cost is really associated with a couple things. To meet OSHA code so they can get at it and do the work is a substantial amount, unfortunately. And you can see the current condition at what it's at, and we're just kind of at a stuck point, right? So The estimated value was of 483,000 was a high market value. So basically that's what they're saying is the top end cost for us, right? That's the top end of what it's gonna cost. With that being said, the funding source and where we take this project from if we go forward with it. I've attached, or I shouldn't say attached, but I handed out a paper for you guys, just basically saying where our building improvement fund was at, where it's currently at. So end of year 2024, we're at $1,577,424.73. We budgeted for $475 in 2025. That budget was obviously approved. The expenses to the date, I won't get into too much detail, but essentially estimated cost funds after all of the potential parking lot, the rough estimated expenses that are just lingering out. Those are like professional services, just projects that have to wrap up, those type of things in the rough estimated cost, and then the expenses to date. We're looking at $1,627,209.69. So that is before we would potentially do the historic trim project. So I just wanted to make you aware of those costs, you know, kind of where that budget sits, and open it up for your discussion on what you'd like to see done. If you'd like to see anything done, where we're at with it. Again, this is brought to me by the former board. And now we're just, because of the historic, it does take time for us to jump through those hoops, and this is where we're at. And let me back up just a little bit. For the 483 that I was talking about, Winseth Consulting, who's doing our consulting as professional services, they recommended potentially going through Sourcewell, and that was the potential number that was given to us through Sourcewell. The individuals that are gonna bid this project, because of the complexity of the scaffolding and the, those type of things are a little limited. You're not gonna get too many people locally that are gonna be equipped with that type of scaffolding. I know just in past, even one of the bigger contractors that we worked with, they were gonna subcontract out the potential for the cupola project, which was $154,000 just for scaffolding to get there. So it's very complex to get through. The work itself is not that difficult, the work itself, but it's getting to the product that's the problem. So I'll open it up for discussion where you'd like to see it gone, and just kind of go from there.
If I could, Mr. Chair, the rock wall, is that part of that rough estimated expenses to be paid out? Or is that separate?
So the rock wall is a part of ARPA funds. That is not a part of this. That was approved by the board when we went for that. The expenses that were out of this building improvement fund for the rock wall, they are included in that 225.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was
Yep,
totally covered.
nope, that was an ARPA fund project,
Okay.
so.
So Mitch, those are aluminum shakes, right, on there?
Yes, those are steel or aluminum shingles, yes.
Right, yeah.
Yep, and that product was approved when they did that however long ago. But this is, the reason we're looking at this and what we're looking at replacing it with is a composite type material, right? We want to get away from the wood and the weathering, and we want a material up there that's gonna last. So that kind of ties into the cost of it as well. So those are expensive products at times. But you know, if we put it on, it will last. And that's where we wanted to go as a county with it because of the problems we have and the, you know, getting at them and those type of things. I mean, if they're on the ground, it'd be really easy to paint, but because of where it's at, it's a mess.
All right, Mr. Chair, if I may. So Mitch, I know we've got plans from, was it Stantec that did the plan?
Winseth.
Winseth did the
Yep.
plans? Okay, so we got plans from, so ideally, what are we at to put it out for bids? How far out are we? Because I know we gotta get it approved by the Historical Society and all these other things.
Yep. So we're at the process of going out for bids. There's two ways we can go out for bids. We can do the Sourcewell bidding contract, which the rough estimate is $480,000.
But that's from Winseth, right?
That is from Winseth, yes, and that is their we can get an actual bid process done through Sourcewell, or we can do like we generally do and go out for bid, low bidder, those type of things. It's totally up to the board.
I mean, I'd like to see some bids and see how high that, the high estimated cost is 483.
Yep.
Does it come in at 350 or does it come in at 400?
Absolutely,
you
and,
know?
and that's why I'm
Just
here.
to
Where do you
see where
guys
we
actually want to see
where
that?
it actually is? Because I mean, yeah, and it could be 550. Who knows?
Yep.
It's just, it'd be nice to see that number so we could get our heads around what our fund balance would be in the end. Actual.
Absolutely. And the other thing is too with this is, just like I said, we're doing the parking lot, we always have time to reject the bids and not do the project. But until you get that final firm number, these are just an estimated cost, whether we want to move forward with or not, and seeing where, our funds lay, right? Because those are always important to the county. And so that's kind of why I wanted to get this out there, because it was it's been a lingering project, if that makes sense, because of the historic.
Well, obviously, we see it.
Yeah.
It needs to be worked over completely.
I could, Mr. Chair. Mitch, are there any other options for this? I mean, can we eliminate the cupola and just put a roof over it?
Well,
Or because of
So
our
we're bound to
connection
keep
with-
it as it looks because of historical, right?
We're bound to keep it.
The other option that you could look into is just repainting it, right? Repainting the products that's there, which I don't know if that's the best option. And I don't know if it's money well spent for the taxpayer as well. I think if we're going to do something, I think the best option is to redo it with a composite material.
And I believe from past discussions, there are windows up there that were supposed to replace these windows, but they don't.
So, originally when you did the project is 2012, somebody can remind me if I'm wrong with that, 2012, the project was done. I was told when I started that those windows would fit that particular opening, and I did some investigating, and that's an untrue statement. They do not fit. So it was kind of an unfortunate event, but that's where it lays. So that's why obviously the cost with buying those windows is extremely expensive, because they're custom. They're not a typical window that's manufactured. So I'm just,
The question is, do you want Sourcewell to do the bidding for us, or are we gonna do it?
exactly that's whatever the board suggests is the direction I'll go.
What do you suggest? What's the time frame and what do you got on your calendar?
I would, if it was me, I would like to see it go out for bid. I think that gives local companies a chance at it. I know it's a suggestion from from Winseth, our professional services. I don't want to overstep them a little bit, but I feel it gives those individuals that have a chance. And also, the construction field right now is a little bit dicey. There's definitely work out there, but there might be people looking for some work, so you never know what kind of bid you're gonna get. Again, you're really rolling the dice, because I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna, they might be planned for the summer. It might be a project that fits well. I do think we'll get people to bid on it. I don't think that'll be an issue. But I just wanna make sure, for one, if you want me to come back here, or if you wanna just go out for bid and bring, those numbers after a bid opening and discuss it after that, or where you kinda sit.
Well, team, what do we think? Take it to bid?
I think you'd like to put it out for bid rather than going
I
to
would,
Sourcewell? And I don't think that's a bad idea. And if things aren't working, well, we can always go back to Sourcewell if we have to.
I mean, this was my house, I'd caulk and paint it and be done with it. I'm not spending $483,000 myself. I'm gonna be completely honest with everybody in the room and everybody watching from here to California. That's my own opinion, and if we get the estimates and they come in less, maybe it's worth it.
Okay. So the recommendation from the board is to just go out for bid, and then when we, after the opening, we'll come back to the board and show those numbers, and we'll bring even that to a work session too.
Great.
Instead of going for, a BAF,
Right.
we'll do that. All right?
Great, thanks.
All right. Anything else? All right, thanks, guys.
Anybody need a break? Are y'all good? Wanna keep rolling?
I'm good.
Randy, you good?
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Give me about 5 minutes, Bob, and we'll discuss it.
Oh, yeah. The urge comes, you know what I mean? This might be, these guys are, they're gonna talk to us for a while.
It's like, yeah, maybe.
I mean, they get dressed differently than everybody else came in.
Yep.
There may or may not be cheese here.
Where the crumble cookies at, man? That's the. No, this. All right, you guys got the floor. Let's get her done.
Yep. Because we budgeted for 75 more, so this is what we had. We added that to this, so we should be at 2 million.
I can change, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, no.
Yep.
Jolene's about to pull up your presentation, all of it, I mean, it's coming up.
Nelly,
Do you need me to
Nelly.
have that piece open, or-
Well, I was just thinking, so I'm going to share the screen.
Oh,
Yeah, we got it right here.
Oh, okay, can you help us, Nelly?
Yeah.
What did you do, switch panic?
Actually, it was like this, like, go like that, and I hit the button. She goes, you gotta hold it.
Oh.
Take 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is
Keep my
right
feet
here.
on the ground. Shoot. God dang, I'm like Dennis the Menace. Okay, we have Paycom onboarding and payroll software presentation from Elliot and Jack, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, you're up.
Well, we can maybe just share the presentation first, and then we can work on getting the mobile app set up on our side. That works. Perfect. Awesome, there we go. Well, I see a lot of familiar faces in here from our first conversation, so thank you for having us back on site. For all of the commissioners standing in front of us and then everyone else in the room, we'll knock out some quick introductions and then we'll get right into it because I know we're tight on our time. But my name is Jack Darnell. I'm the Minneapolis sales manager for the office. We oversee the entire state of Minnesota, South Dakota, and then also western Wisconsin, and I'll kick it over to Elliot.
Yeah, my name's Elliot Kane. I oversee southern Minnesota and western Wisconsin, and then some other scattered parts of the state of Minnesota as well.
Again, thanks for having us today, guys. I just want to say how excited we are to be here today. I mean, this is an accumulation of a lot of hard work put in with your HR team between Jackie, Nelly, Chris, Carrie. One thing is clear that everyone you guys have as a part of your organization, they care. Like even Mike and Chris being up here talking about, waste and equipment. I don't care if it's Mitch talking about your guys' facilities. Everyone cares about the betterment of Todd County. And that's exactly why we're sitting in front of you all today, because we care about your employees. And right now today, based off of the environment that's in place, your biggest line item expense, which is your payroll and paying your employees correctly, is in question every single pay period. And I don't know if you want to hit the next slide for me. Thank you so much. You might have to hit it one more time. Perfect. Again, just talking about why we're here today. So we've had over 14 hours of meeting time with your HR team, with your payroll staff, different department heads, talking about how the current environment is impacting your employees have a good experience every single day that they show up to work. So one thing that I want to make very clear before I hop into the rest of the presentation, this is not due to the people that are sitting in the chairs. I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal. I have nothing but compliments for Jackie and Nelly here. But essentially, due to the way your current environment comes into play with the systems that you have that make up your employees being paid accurately, there's no integration between them, which leads to a lot of manual intervention. And anytime there's manual intervention, there's the opportunity for error. Guys, we're human beings. We're not perfect. There's so much manual intervention and auditing today just to get information into payroll that by the time we process it, it's very reactive and it's almost like, okay, let's press submit on the payroll and then see what mistakes we've made or what employees potentially come back to us with. On top of that too, I'm sure when you guys have evaluated technology in the past, there's been sales reps sitting in front of you guys with suits tell you about how good their system is, they sell you the dream, but then they're not held accountable for how you guys are actually using it on the back end. And there's just no strategy for you all. On top of that too, just talking about some of the staffing and recruitment challenges that you guys face today, we are understaffed in a couple of departments, which does have the ability to increase your overtime costs. And then also just on the quality of service that you give back to the community, if you're understaffed, there's going to be higher overtime, there's going to be lower morale, and potentially now we're not giving that highest quality of service back to the members of Todd County. And then essentially, again, after we go to the next slide that I'll click here, you guys will see that just based off of everything living in so many different places, it's tough for the board standing in front of me, a lot of the department heads, a lot of the leaders when it comes to HR and payroll, to make informed decisions about your workforce going forward. When I even think about something like an overtime analytic or a time to fill analytic, or even how you guys track ongoing leave for your employees, all of that is manual today. So when talking about the current environment, these are all of the different systems that make up your employees being paid accurately. And there's a couple of areas that I want to say that really stood out to me during the process. One, CPT is obviously our source of truth. That's where we pay our employees. The first main area that stood out to me from day one, I'll never forget it during our first conversation, but it was the time cards and the way that your employees are taking care of their time and attendance today. So right now, it's fully on your employees to not only track their hours, but also calculate based off of their earnings what they should be getting paid for that day. And at the end of the day, they put in that information. Sometimes they guess, sometimes it's incorrect, but there has to be someone in between getting that information into CPT, hence coming in Chris, Carrie, Jackie, and Nellie. And again, the human error that can come with that, the time fraud that can come with that, and the procedures and policies that aren't in place today leave a lot of area of opportunity when it comes to time and attendance. I always think of benefit enrollment too. So your current system is Benefit Connect. Right now, benefits are being reconciled 100% manually. Calculating deductions to get into payroll are 100% manual, and all of that information has to flow into payroll. We'll get into this a little bit later in our conversation, but we even put together a return on investment of all of the hours that are being put into making these systems on the screen work today that could be allocated back towards the county. Now, I'll go through this pretty briefly, but as you guys can see, you guys are still going to be able to get from point A to point B. You're still going to be able to process your payroll. You guys have found a way to make it work. We can obviously just see today that it's not the most efficient. And where we're going in the future is that everything that I just showed you guys on the screen, from hire to retire, that could impact your employees being paid accurately, will now be underneath the same roof. And this is the solution that we've put together with your team that will give your employees the absolute best experience that will lead to efficiency and accuracy when we talk about them receiving an accurate paycheck. So this will encompass everything that we had on the previous screen and even more. Something that sticks out to me would even be the government and compliance piece, how you guys track FMLA, EEO1, OSHA, workplace injuries. Today, that's all manual. And now that's something that can be consolidated by Paycom. Anything that you do not see highlighted is something that we've determined is not an essential need in order for you guys to have the best experience. Everything else I would not let you guys move forward without. Now, talking about how we bring this to life, I'm sure outside of Commissioner Denny, none of the other commissioners have actually used Paycom in the past, but just kind of giving you a brief overview of what your future partner looks like. Everything from hire to retire that your employees will interact with, that your department heads will interact with, or that the staff up here will interact with, we've developed 100% organically. So even if you guys leave today and look up Paycom on the mobile app store, there's only one Paycom app. There isn't Paycom time and attendance. There isn't Paycom benefits. Based off of the environment today, your employees could potentially have multiple different usernames, multiple different logins. At the end of the day, all that does is distract them from taking care of the community and giving back the quality of service that you've had them outlive to the community. On top of that too, I see you guys see employee adoption up there, but I would say that's where this really becomes a true partnership rather than me just giving you a flashy new system and then running for the hills. Because you're going to see a couple of usage scores from some of the surrounding counties in Morrison and Wadena. We partner with several counties in the state of Minnesota. All of them have an employee adoption score of over 97%. And essentially what that means is any change that can be initiated by the employee is initiated by the employee because now they have access to it. Right now, instead of the employee initiating the activity, they have to run to their department head. They might have to run to someone else. There's duplicative entry. There's question on the information. And guys, anytime there's duplicative entry at Todd County, it's costing your organization on average $4.67 per change. So I'm not just talking about usage. I can talk about that until I'm blue in the face. But if you guys don't have a way to measure it, you have no way to measure if this was a successful transition and if this is a successful partnership. Now, we did want to share a couple of those usage scores with you guys because these are counties that were in very similar positions to the one that you guys are in today. And again, I want to be clear, it's not due to the people, it's due to the technology and due to the systems. They sat in front of me and they had similar concerns. Jack, I don't know if our folks are going to use this. I don't know what consolidation is going to look like. I don't know what transferring ownership to the employees is truly going to do for us. But as you can see, now that they've been live within Paycom for 2, 3, 4 years, over 98% of their changes for both counties are being initiated by their employees. Guys, this is what a return on investment looks like. This is what a partnership looks like. And at the end of the day, everyone between myself, your transition team who's going to be coming on site with you all and training your employees on how to use Paycom, and then your long-term support team, we're all local out of Edina. So if you guys ever need us, we'll be coming on site with you guys to benchmark, ensure that you're getting the most out of this partnership. And if that number ever dwindles below 96%, it's actually mandatory for us to come back on site with you guys and help you develop strategies to get that number back up. Now, as Todd County continues to grow, you guys might add new processes. You might add another department. You might add new employees, whatever it may be, which may take on additional resources that you need from Paycom. That all comes as a part of our package. There is no additional spend for that. I did want to show this because, again, you guys see this every single time you log into our platform. It's really easy for us to talk about usage, but this is how we measure it and this is how we bring it to life. Now, we wanted to break this down a little bit, and we'll get into a mobile app overview shortly here, just talking about employee self-service, what it means for every single one of your folks, and then also your managers and your department heads as well. Because today, employees have little to no functionality. Jackie and Nilly, would that be fair to say from an employee self-service perspective, with your managers having close to none?
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So I'll never forget it. They shared with me a time card on the left of our introduction meeting. And as you can see, this is what your employees are seeing when it comes to their time and attendance, when it comes to their hours. They put in the hours, but then they manually calculate their earnings for that given shift or for that given pay period. Now, what it's going to look like in Paycom, and you guys can see some of the screenshots on the right-hand side, but it's very consumer grade. Very intuitive. 1 to 2 clicks and your employees are exactly where they need to be. While we will be shifting the ownership to your employees, we also just want to give them technology that's easy to use. So you guys can see that not only will timesheets be automated during completion, but also that will include the differential pay, and any calculations when it comes to clocking in will be directly embedded into our software. Also, when we talk about some of the procedures that we can put into place to help you guys mitigate some of the time fraud that we're seeing today and what we found during our analysis, items like geofencing, microfencing, ensuring that your folks are at the right place at the right time through scheduling, and also ensuring that they could never go outside of those boundaries. It's going to lead to accuracy and it's going to lead to trust when it comes to your employees clocking in and out every single day. Also, Jackie and Nelia, I don't know if you guys want to speak a little bit to just some of the errors that you're finding within time cards, whether that be before the payroll is processed, whether it be after the payroll is processed, how much time you guys put into that process today. I'd be curious to get your thoughts because you guys know it better than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the time cards go, a lot of it is calculating their hours they worked, like manually having to do the math. If they worked outside of 8 to 4:30, how many hours did they work? Did they take a half-hour break? Did they take a 15-minute break? The mathematical errors from what they put in their comments for the shift they worked to the actual hours they put in their time card. Also, along with like differential pay, with our sheriff's department, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is automatically differential pay. Well, there's a significant amount of employees who forget about that because it's a separate column. They have to manually calculate how many hours of their shift was differential pay. So I would say it's every payroll we're catching errors. We're finding
wrong math for getting differential pay, putting in differential pay when there wasn't supposed to be. Whereas with Paycom, we can set rules so that in the sheriff's department, it would automatically give them differential pay between the hours of 6 PM to 6 AM.
I'll add on to that a little bit more too. Just today within the current environment, guys, before I stand in front of you, there's just a lot of area of opportunity for errors and excuses. And one thing that I like to say in front of the counties that we present to is within Paycom, there's no area of opportunity to make excuses anymore. Employees can't forget their login, their username or password because we have facial recognition. They can't forget to clock in and out because we're reminding not only them, but we're also reminding the department head the second they forget to clock in. And then we're also giving employees the tools they need to go in and validate that, hey, I was here at this time. And instead of the manager adding that time onto their time card, we're giving the employees the tools to initiate that change and to get those hours back on their time card. They can no longer be in Carrie's office every single payroll day and say, hey, you know, Carrie, why does my check look wrong? Why are you paying me incorrectly? Why am I now not a happy employee? Because within Paycom, we're giving your employees the opportunity to validate that their paycheck is correct before Carrie even presses submit. So kind of going back to the way that Paycom grew their technology, guys, if we had went out and acquired one of these modules, or if we had went out and partnered with one of these modules, we could not give you this level of visibility or this level of transparency. Why at the end of the day, it doesn't just make Paycom another option for Todd County, it makes Paycom the only option for Todd County. Now, what this means for your managers is we identified a need a couple of years ago, actually, where yes, we're very strong from an employee self-service perspective and giving your employees a better experience, but now we also want to give your managers and department heads a better experience as well. So anything that would require an approval, anything that would go through a workflow can now also be accessed from your department heads and managers. I know they're busy people. They don't always have the opportunity to sit down at a desktop to make a change. They can't always look into their email to see what action needs to be taken. Now within Paycom, we can set up easy notifications that are sent directly to their mobile app. And if they have to approve PTO or a punch change, heck, even if they see applications that are coming through for an open requisition, and even if Commissioner Byers comes up to Nellie and now asks, Nellie, please pull the overtime for the last pay period. Please show us our time to fill for the last 3 months. She can now just go on her phone and pull that analytic directly, and she has data right at her fingertips, and now you guys can act accordingly on that data. Today, Nellie, how long would it take you to grab some of that information?
A while.
She's pretty good, so.
She is pretty good. But I think you guys can get the idea. We wanted to put up just a couple of screenshots, and we'll show this live in action too, but there's so many areas of opportunity when it comes to visibility and approval workflows. Heck, time and attendance requests or PTO requests or applications that are coming through could go all the way to the commissioner level. But as soon as you guys press the final approve button, then it instantly communicates to payroll. There is no manual intervention. There is no double and triple checking. There is no auditing. Because we grew everything from the ground up, everything is talking to each other and it's coded in the same language. The cool part about this is, guys, with other players in our space, like I know the team is familiar with groups like UKG, ADP, Paylocity. They can all process your payroll, but because of the way they've grown their technology, it's just going to change the experience that your employees have. Because again, if you go to the App Store after we part ways today, you're going to see multiple different apps on the back end. Now, I wanted to pull just what this means for the decision makers as well. We talked about employees, we talked about department heads, now kind of going into for our decision makers in the room and how we continue to progress Todd County forward as an organization. When you see all of the analytics that are on the screen, whether it be our total payroll liability, our salary expenses, our time to fill, PTO requests, even what level in the interview process that candidates may be falling off in, all of this is now live and in real time, and it's proactive. Guys, just because of the other players in our space and the way that they have grown, payroll is very reactive. And again, based off of what you guys are seeing today, we press submit on the payroll and it's like, okay, Let's see what people are coming back to us with. But everything within Paycom, I want to be proactive. I want to shift the ownership from you all to your employees. So now it's on them to ensure that they're receiving an accurate paycheck, and it takes the liability off of you all as an employer because we're giving them the opportunity multiple times throughout the process to do so. Nellie and Jackie, I know you wanted to add in a couple of bullet points on this specific section, but do you guys want to talk about just maybe some of the items on the right and what that would mean to your team?
Yeah, I kind of called that out because of our hiring process. I thought that, we definitely could see improvement in our hiring process as far as keeping everybody on the team informed. So I like the idea that Paycom is monitoring as your outside community members are applying for jobs at Todd County, that their experience is smooth and it's more quick and it's efficient. Sometimes, we're doing a lot of, I guess, chasing people to get them together for going over decisions about vetting candidates, setting up times for interviews. Emailing out applications, yes. So what Paycom does is that's all automated so that you're sending automatic notifications to your team saying, you know what, you've got applicants in the bin that need to be reviewed. And that'll keep on telling them that. And then, hey, we need to choose candidates and choose a time for interviewing. All of that is going to be notifying them, on a consistent basis so that maybe we can make that a quicker process. I see that as kind of an area where we're doing an okay job, but I think we could do it better. I think we could be more efficient and quicker on our process so that our experience for people that are applying to Todd County for jobs is as good or better than the other counties or other employers.
Yeah, and to add to that, even like the onboarding and the offer process, like right now, I have to create in Word an offer letter and email it, whereas it could all be done from Paycom. The minute they apply, we can send an offer through Paycom, they can accept it, we can move them to onboarding. We don't have to make them fill out new forms and introduce them to a new system, and then when benefits come, here you got another new system that you have to remember another login for. It would all be start to finish in Paycom.
One just other piece I'll piggyback off of that on is, as a part of this partnership and relationship going forward, as we're building out your information from CPT, Benefits Connect, Excel spreadsheets, and building it out within Paycom, it's our duty to extract that information. It's not the people that are sitting in front of you today, but as we're building out all of that information within your system, your team is going to verify that it's correct, but then we're also going to say, hey, this is the way you guys are doing it today. It doesn't have to be the way that you're doing it within Paycom. Morrison and Wadena are actually doing applicant tracking this way. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Would you be open to it? Would it bring more efficiencies to you? We go through every nook and cranny of the system to ensure that you guys are, one, set up properly, but two, that your folks are going to use it to the best of its ability. Now, I'm about to hand it over to Elliot. He spent extensive amount of time with the team going through the return on investment from this project, mostly from an implicit point of view with the amount of hours that are spent within your current processes. Now, I know I just kicked it over to Nellie and Jackie, and we talked about automation. We talked about what Paycom can do for you all. A lot of features and functionalities that you guys don't have today will exist within Paycom. But before I kick it over to Elliot, I just wanted to ask you all, what does that level of automation now allow you guys to do? Like, if we can truly return 1,083 hours annually back to you all, and personally, I think that's light on a 75% efficiencies gain through Paycom, but what does this allow you to do as an organization with all of this time?
I guess from my standpoint, Jackie and I would be able to spend more time on policies and like marketing and going to job fairs and trying to recruit outside of just, posting on social media or posting on LinkedIn. Because currently right now, we don't have the manpower to be able to do them things or deep dive into, legislative stuff or whatnot that would free up our time to spend more.
Well, and recently, I've been thinking about this too, since you posed that question to both of us. More recently, because those are good ideas too, because recruitment strategies, things like that, for coming from a career center background, that's like really important to me. But more importantly, of recent, I think we definitely need to be doing more work on our policy, our personnel policy, some of our other policies. I think there's some weak areas that we've identified, and we just don't have the time, that it keeps getting pushed down a lot. So I think this would free it up.
Have you seen, what have administrative or HR staffs look like after the implementation of this as far as numbers? Did their staffing levels remain the same?
Yeah, we still need those people 100% of the time, and I'm not suggesting that anyone's job is going away, but when we do look forward, if you guys were to add additional employees or additional complexity, make no mistake about it, this could certainly replace the cost of a future employee and displace an FTE. I don't know how much it costs for you guys to pay, a member of HR or a member of payroll, but when we look at an annual salary of potentially $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, that's what this type of automation and this type of system can displace. But I do not want this team going anywhere. You guys need this team.
That's a good question. And another thing I think of, Nellie, is ESST and the PFMLA that's going to be probably coming down I wish not, but it sounds like it's going to. So that's going to take another level of complexity of us determining leave times for our employees and how that works. But
Yeah. I think one point I just will add to that is PACOM actually holds squatters in every single state that is getting updates on legislation and building that out directly into the system. So that doesn't fall on Todd County, that doesn't fall on Nellie or Jackie. I do not have a better version of PACOM to present to you all. You always have the most up-to-date version of our software, and there are no additional upgrades or systems that we can give you.
Cool. Well, so these next couple of slides here, what we've really done is just kind of broken down how we got to that 1,083 hours annually returned. So just kind of getting into a few areas of the system that Jack and Nellie and Jackie have identified that are time sucks for them right now. Breaking down background checks. Nellie had mentioned even onboarding and creating efficiencies for those new hires, creating a good first impression for them on their first day, and also cutting back on the amount of back-end data entry that's being required by the team right now to enter the information into the 3 to 4 to 5 different systems that they're having to transfer that data from. We've, again, worked with the team to identify, for onboarding specifically, we can look at, about 38 new hires per year over the last 5 years, and the amount of time that's being spent on each of those new hires. Again, sending them all the documentation they need to sign off on. Even like Nellie had mentioned, sending over the offer letter through email and having to manually send that over. These are things that, again, PACOM is going to automate on their behalf, which is resulting in a huge time savings across numerous different areas throughout the system.
One thing that I will add to on the payroll piece is I know you guys do have some complex pay when it comes to your folks and differential pay, and making some of those changes mid-pay period is almost impossible. And you guys will have to wait until the end of a pay period. You may have to wait until you're able to do those calculations just so it doesn't disrupt the flow of your actual payroll. Within PACOM, we actually give you a form that automates any type of change within the organization, a promotion, a termination, a pay change, even a retro payment. It's funny, we're meeting with Becker County, and that's the one thing that stood out to them is the proration that can be automated for their union folks. But that form is a game changer, especially when we talk about how much can be impacted by a simple promotion. There could be 30 to 45 fields that right now your team has to manually go in and update, which is 30 to 45 areas of opportunity where errors can happen. If PACOM can displace those 30 to 45 areas, now we live in a world of accuracy and automation and areas where we don't have to wait until the end of the pay period to make some of these changes.
Yeah, on top of that, one more thing to add. I know it's been mentioned a few times, getting employees to actually leverage and use the technology is huge for the team here. And PACOM is going to empower the employees to go in and make these changes rather than the team here sitting next to us having to go in and make the changes on behalf of employees. So when you're looking at specifically the payroll review on top of what Jack had just mentioned, also giving employees the ability, because they know their information better than anyone else, to go in and validate that information.
When you say empower the employees, I mean, is that what the employees that clock into the system, that they feel like it's empowered? I can see some people going, it's intrusive. And the other question that I have is, how does salaried, how does salaried exempt people clock in and out?
Yeah, I can address that first point. So I think today, a lot of the things that we're saying your employees are already doing today, even calculating their own time and attendance, I would argue that's intrusive by the way that they're calculating it. Now, within Paycom, we're not changing any behaviors or changing any drastic actions. They're still able to clock in and out. It's just that process of manual calculation is automated. And I would say where the empowerment comes from, Commissioner Byers, would be the end result, which is why they show up to work. It's to receive a paycheck, and it's to receive an accurate one. So within Paycom, not only can they put in their time and attendance, they can put in all of the actions that would impact them receiving an accurate paycheck, but they also get to validate it before Carrie even presses submit. That is something that no other player in our space can bring to the table. And when you talk about transparency and confidence, that means everything to your employees. Heck, we even took a poll of the other two counties on how quickly do employees come in and validate their paycheck every single pay period. So we will send out a notification directly to their desktops or directly to their mobile apps. Within the first 30 minutes of the notification being sent out, 80% of their employees went in and validated their pay.
So you go and you look at on your phone or wherever you're looking at, you go, okay, I worked that many hours this day and this week and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm good. So that I say yes, and then payroll, is there like cutoff times where people don't get their yeses in, that they don't get a check that day?
That's a really good question, and everyone asks us that in these presentations.
I'm assuming everybody, as soon as they get their notice, they're like, yeah, I got paid.
Yeah, heck yeah, absolutely.
I'm just
But
asking.
the thing is too, we work with a wide variety of different companies, from construction to manufacturing, blue collar folks that sometimes they have an older workforce. Some people don't have phones. Some people aren't open to downloading the app. And they ask me the same thing. They're like, what if employees don't go in and validate their check? Like, the concern is it going to hold up payroll? And the answer is no. So you guys will actually have a date and time parameter where if they don't go in and validate it by that date and time, it's still going to go over to Carrie and payroll. But then when they're in her office on payday and they're like, why didn't you get these hours on my time card? That's when you can shift the ownership back on the employee and say, well, did you go in and approve it?
I guess I got a question too, and you keep talking, either your cell phone, your laptop, does the county, they do it all on the counties? Or cell phones and laptops, or do they do it on their personal ones? Or, where's the app actually put on?
It's a great question. So they can do it on either. So they could do it on their county appointed phone, they could do it on their personal, they could do it from a desktop. For those folks that don't have access to a mobile device, we could set them up in kiosk mode, meaning that they can access Paycom directly through the desktop. Or I even have some groups that use tablets and iPads. There is no limitation to how your employees can access Paycom. It's a good question.
Somebody that's salaried comes in, they open their office door and they click on some icon that says they're here. Or they do it on their phone, or they do it, that's for salaried people?
For salary folks, their hours are going to be set up in the system based off of their hours per pay period. So I'm assuming they're not clocking in and out today, right?
No, but they're still documenting their time. So, and that's something we can go into deeper discussion. We can have different parameters set for different departments. Not every department has to be the same with clocking in and out. There are different versions, like you can just do a drop down time and do I worked 8 to 4:30 and not physically like punch in and out.
I mean, I know some folks that are salaried in a different profession. I don't know if they have Paycom, but they have a system that's digital, and they have like, well, I got 48 hours for the week. I'm 8 hours, I'm really only supposed to be here 40 hours, like 48 hours. So, how do we handle like, oh, you've already worked your 40 or something?
It's a great question. So there are some procedures in place that we can put in when it.
Keep track of, they're gonna say, oh, I'm comp time for that.
Always.
Right.
Always.
Yep. And so we would work with them through that system to do, like, follow our rules and our policies to accommodate those if there's different departments or different, union, non-union, because we can break it down actually per position seat. So like we could have different rules for every person at the county if we wanted.
So each department head would have to build a, like, say, Jackie O or somebody, right? And they have an employee that's Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and they got 40 hours and they're like, I got my 40, I'm out. So that department head would get some type of notice that says they got their 40 in, you know, whatever. I mean, we'd like to, you know, keep working if you can, but maybe next week you work. You build all these rules specifically for each department, for each.
We have to, and it's not on you guys, so any data that currently exists in any of your other systems, any rules or policies or procedures, to Nellie's point, we build that into a seat, or what you guys probably know as an organizational chart. So it's so much more than just an organizational chart. All of the HR attributes, all of the time and attendance rules, all of the government and compliance that needs to be tied to a seat. Now, as soon as you onboard someone and you put them into that seat, they automatically inherit all of those attributes instead of someone in HR having to manually calculate all of those things.
And even to go back to that, like all the policy sign-offs, all that stuff that is required for that position, which may vary depending on the position, we can have all that assigned, so once they go into that seat, it can say, okay, you have these 5 policy sign-offs you have to complete.
And then the level of authorization can be by whatever. So the department head can give that authorization, hey, hit the road, or a county coordinator can, or someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can have different levels, like it could go to supervisor first, then to manager before it goes to payroll, or if it has something to do with, you know, meals, if it wants to go after the supervisor to Denise's office before it comes up to payroll, we can do that. We can do multi-level of approvals.
One last, sorry. I don't know who answers this, obviously the Paycom guys, but like, let's say you're HHS and you're supposed to be in Osakis or Staples doing a check on a client. Is that where you geofence or microfence people, or have the ability to do that? Like, but it says you're going to a client visit in Staples, but you're over in, Perham, or over Maury's buying fish, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, so how are your folks keeping track of those changes today? If they're switching jobs or switching departments, do they make that change on their time card, or?
So if it's a department change, like.
I'm assuming you're geofencing an IP or something.
I guess the answer to the question is you guys can geofence anything that you want to.
Well, I understand I do it for my marketing business, but I'm just saying you're tying into an IP somewhere. That's how you have to, or it's a track on the phone or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like to your point, IP address, Wi-Fi. I've even worked with some hosts.
Use that feature.
I would have to check on their product set.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, but
Please,
Commissioner Byers, I'd like to ask a question. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. I'm going to take our public works, for example. We've got plow truck drivers that are at all hours of the night. They're out overnight. And it might be a Friday into a Saturday or whatever it is. I'm sure Nellie's got something to say. I got you. Just hold on a second. Just hold on. And we say they have to enter their hours. I know they can go manually change them, but what if it's at the end of a pay period and we make them use their phone? Do we have to give them a stipend for their phone they have to use to plug in their hours for overtime, all these things? Do we have to actually do that to them? Because that is intrusive to make them use their personal property to do our work. I'm sorry, it would be intrusive to me. It's my personal property. I shouldn't have to do it to get paid for my job. So go ahead, Nellie.
No, thanks for bringing up Public Works, and I should have made that comment before, that Public Works still would stay with cost rate at this time. So Public Works would not be affected. They still could see and do all their changes, but they would still do their time card the same, and it would be an import.
If people are using their personal phone, it would be like what they call VPN, is that what it's called?
No,
and they wouldn't.
You talk to Ron Noon in Wadena.
I would actually like to see surveys of employees in the other counties.
Yeah, I talked to Ron, and he says they use certain
The employees.
aspects of it,
I don't want to hear what Ron has to say. I want to hear what the employees of the other counties have to say.
Yeah, so we wouldn't force them to use their personal devices. They could choose to if they wanted.
But
'Cause
Nellie, excuse me too, but Nellie, even Public Works, you could have a laptop sitting at Public Works, they all drive their truck into a garage at the end of the day, and they all leave a garage at the beginning of the day. So they all come and they all leave at the same spot. They could do it on a county computer there.
Right, but Public Works wouldn't be clocking in and out, because they'd still be using their cost rate. It'd be an import into Paycom to get their hours. And then from there, if they wanted
But
to make
why?
change.
I mean, if we're gonna go with it, why would we not go with the whole county?
Because that's another level of discussion, because they do their billing through their whatever project they have. It's a whole separate system than payroll is right now. We still do an import. Cost rate is still separate than our payroll and HRS system now. So it'd be no different than what we have now.
They do their job costing, Woodine and Morrison do their job costing in cost right, so that is something that Paycom cannot accommodate. So they actually continue to maintain that relationship and then just do a download and upload directly into Paycom's payroll.
Okay.
Great question. To your point too.
Let's ask the question, what's the initial cost, or what's the subscription, monthly, weekly, yearly, daily cost?
Yeah.
I don't wanna, but I do wanna know.
No, we got you. We're not gatekeeping that from you guys. We wanted to go through just so you guys know what the heck we're even talking about and what you'll be getting. But based off of the product set, Elliot, if you want to go back to the previous slide where we have everything highlighted.
I knew Elliot was gonna, I just need
Yeah.
to keep on time here a little bit. I know you-
No, it's a good question. So this would be based off of 255 employees being paid bi-weekly for all of this product set. And right now, based off of where we're at, how Paycom charges is based off of paid employee per pay period. So if they receive a paycheck, that's what you're charged for. If you have folks just using the system, if they're just clocking in and out but not receiving a paycheck, you actually don't get charged for those people. So you could even have volunteers utilizing Paycom, but if they're not receiving a physical check, there is no charge. Based off of 255 employees bi-weekly for this product set, this would be an annual fee of $79,000 with a one-time implementation fee of $12,000. So you would actually pay that up front. That holds us accountable for building out your system, training your employees, and making sure that you're set up accurately. Now, a part of why we're here today is the team has shared with us that that is quite a delta from what is being paid currently today. And they've expressed how bad they also want this partnership to come to fruition. So obviously, Elliot and I work at a 7,500 employee company. We're small fish in a big pond, but when groups have identified that Paycom is the direction they'd like to go in, I'd like for us to have an open conversation about where that number needs to be in order for us to walk away as partners and what can be more feasible.
Yeah, it's at 1,083, maybe average, let's just say average employee plus that, benefits, let's call it $50,000 or $60,000. At $79,000, we're upside down if we're not changing our staffing. So that's a net loss. Unless I'm missing something, I'm not good at math sometimes. But anyway, we could certainly have that continued discussion about, whatever fish have to come in, whatever bait we gotta throw out.
Mr. Chair, I got a question. Jolene, can you go ahead a couple on the slides? Or
Yes.
could you go ahead? Go ahead further.
Keep going.
Keep going. Oh, back.
Yep.
Right there. Up on the top, it says payroll. It says, the last one is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm not in support of that. You see that? Is that part of your program?
Where do
I
you
think
even
he's just
see
talking
it,
about the
Randy?
analytics dashboard that's built out up there.
Yeah.
It says diversity, equity, DEI.
Yeah, so actually Elliot and myself, we maintain a fake demo code, a fake demo organization, and we were meeting with one group that DEI was really important to them, so we had built out the analytic screenshot for them. If that's not an analytic that you guys are interested in, you won't see it.
All right.
And I guess I should have forefronted that from the beginning. What you guys are seeing on the screen, everything down to the buttons, to the colors, to the images that you see, is all 100% customizable. It'd be tough for us to really get through to you all how truly customizable this is, but you guys can even see the Meet Your Commissioners announcement and notification that I put in there. I put that in there myself. So anything and everything that you guys want to be seen by your employees, uploaded, what you want certain groups to access, and what you want other people to not see or access, that's completely up to you all as an organization. And I think where Elliot was going with that, we just had 2 more slides we wanted to wrap up with the return on investment, because I think a benefits piece is a huge area of opportunity, especially when we talk about the 260 benefit eligible employees that you guys have today. On average, monthly, that's costing you about $300 per employee. And just looking at the 3% national error rate when it comes to manually calculating deductions and the reconciliation of benefits, that could be an explicit cost savings of $28,000 just alone when it comes to benefits. Also, when it comes to the manual nature of compliance and how you guys are tracking that information when it comes to a workplace injury or a wage and hour lawsuit against the county, all of that can also be mitigated within PAYCOM. I don't know what even the cost of one of those would be these days, but just because that will also live within PAYCOM and there can be automated notifications and alerts, that's another area I thought of that we might displace, even on top of the FTE that we already spoke about as well. So guys, I know, like I'm standing before you knowing there's a delta. I know PAYCOM is one of the higher cost providers in our space, but it's kind of like sending your kids to daycare, you know, it's not necessarily something that you want to pinch pennies on. Or if you do that, the thing you care about the most, which is your employees and receiving an accurate paycheck, is going to be in jeopardy. All of that being said, we stand in front of you guys today because we want to work with you all. We want to ensure that we can get to a price point that allows us to have a successful long-term partnership. And it's our hope that this is the last time Todd County is ever evaluating payroll and HRIS. I didn't know if there were any other slides, Elliot, but if they wanted a short, brief overview of the technology. I guess we could briefly touch on the team behind the strategy too. So these are the people that bring it to life. I can give you guys all the bells and whistles under the sun, but if your folks aren't using it, and if you don't have a team ensuring that you guys are taken care of, it's kind of going to fall on deaf ears. And I could give you guys the best system in the world, but if we hang you out to dry, now it's up to Nellie and Jackie to make this thing work. As a part of that implementation fee that I talked about, yes, Elliot and I are a part of the process, but everything that we're sitting in front of you all and telling, we're also held accountable for. We actually don't get paid on this project or this transition until you guys process 2 accurate payrolls. And even at that point, Commissioner Noska, we're actually going to send out a survey report to all of your employees and let them rank, hey, how easy was it to use PAYCOM? How likely would you be to recommend PAYCOM to someone who's never used it before? We actually lead our space in that score at 68 out of 100.
So you've done that for the other counties already?
Yep.
And you say 68 are satisfied of 100?
It's the highest rating in the payroll and HCM space. Do you still have that graphic?
I would agree with one thing, all these software solutions, if you don't use them, it's, you know, and you gotta have kind of a cheerleader or a taskmaster that, you know, are we using them? Are we using everything we paid for, you know? I mean, it seemed like Excel, like you probably can do, I could probably do a million more things in Excel if I really dug into it, but I don't. I just do the stuff that's simple, you know? So you gotta, you know, as you look at this administration, I would say there's gotta be like a, you know, a taskmaster, like.
Mr. Chair, how long has Morrison County had this?
Do you know?
It's been at least 3 years.
I think it's closer to 5.
It's about 5.
Could we get them to come to a work session or something? The administrator from Morrison County
Or I can ask Beth or Melissa, the 2.
or their payroll? Yeah, would you?
Yeah, and I'm sure Matt would come, the administrator too. He'd be happy to talk to you.
How do we like it?
I think what was, you know, for me coming here was realizing that we have 7 or 8 different programs that we cobble together to do this, what we talked about this morning. And I just like the idea that from the very start, you're putting them in, you're going into this process and then it's walking you through it. And it is giving the employee the control to put in time, you know, for their daily, for what they're doing at work. And I guess that's been I'm used to that with my other jobs I've been at. It's been a more employee directed. Here, it's a little different, and it's our office doing a lot of the, you know, fixing and tweaking and changing, and there's a lot of back and forth. And that's definitely different than I've seen before. So I thought this would be a step in the right direction for our employees. I think they would like it. I think they would like it better, honestly.
Also, just another thing to add on to that, looking at the people that you guys see on the screen today, I'm curious when's the last time you guys saw someone from any of the current systems that we just had up on the screen come on site with you all, if ever?
Integrity usually comes
Benefits can-
once or twice a year. As far as NeoGov, since I've been with Todd County, they've never came here.
And I just asked the question because those folks that you see in the middle, I would expect to spend the first 4 to 6 months with them. Think of them as your quarterback. They're leading your implementation. They're coming on site with you guys and training your department heads, all of your employees, ensuring that they're adopting the skills needed to properly use Paycom. And then once you guys get to a 98% usage score, we actually have a handoff meeting to the folks at the bottom, who are also located out of our office in Edina. Now, some people never want to see those people. Some people want to see them every month. Some people want to see them once a quarter. But as you guys continue to grow as an organization and you need new setup, new build out, new training for employees, they're actually coming on site with you guys to benchmark. And they actually have 3-hour best practice meetings with the HR team, people in payroll. Actually, anyone who wants to join those can come in. But essentially, it's okay, here's your current state. How have needs changed, and how can we build out the system to fit those needs? And that's where I think this becomes more of a partnership rather than a new system for the county. And that's what we're looking for. I don't ask Elliot to partner with every group under the sun every single year. I want him to partner with 10 to 12 good organizations that we can develop partnerships with and that will be referenceable clients for us going forward. I know we talked about bringing Morrison or Wadena into a session. I know they would be happy to speak with you guys either through an in-person conversation or a reference call. But I'm coming up on my 3rd year here at Paycom, and I've never had an organization that's left us that I've personally onboarded. And I take a lot of pride in that. I make sure that what we say during the process is set up accurately. And then on the other side of this, I'm going to ask you guys to be a reference for us going forward, talking about how positive your experience was and talking to other groups. So I don't want that to be lightly. That's something I take a lot of pride in. I don't know if there's any more slides, Elliot, but I think that might wrap it up. Oh, I guess this would just be what one of those long-term partnership meetings look like. So I already talked about it. I don't need to beat it into the ground, but anytime that something changes when it comes to your organizational needs, legislation, areas where we can drive efficiency, that's what that long-term meeting would look like. I know we've already been in front of you guys for 30 minutes, but if there is any desire to see the system, we're prepared to show that as well. And I know we've thrown a lot of information at you guys too. I guess I should pause and zoom back out a little bit. Do you guys have any direct feedback, Commissioner Denny, any experiences or stories that you want to share with Paycom? We'd love to help you guys out.
It was very, my use with it at that company was brief, but it was effective, it was efficient. I agree with Commissioner Nosk. I didn't like how there I had to use my personal phone. Did not like that at all. Didn't appreciate that, but that was the only option they gave us one day. They said this is what it is, and kind of deal with it. So, but I mean, as far as use, it was simple to navigate, easy to use, and that part was just fine. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Can we get this this PowerPoint? Can you?
Yeah,
send
absolutely.
Digital format to us, please?
Absolutely.
I'd like to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, maybe we could help you guys out with just short mobile app overviews or manager overviews. I know I'm a visual person. I like to see how things are working on the back end. We can send that over too.
I guess my only thing I would say is that we always have a lot on our plates here, everybody does. And while this may seem like more on our plates, I do think we don't look at technology, you know, and see if it benefits us. We've kind of got our head in the sand. But it also has to make sense for our constituents, our department heads, the board, and everybody, so. You know.
Commissioner Byers and Commissioner Denny, I know we got together, not during the working session, but we had a department head meeting and we went through all of the ins and outs of how this could positively impact their job, just fielding questions and determining, hey, do we truly have a fit to work together today? I was just curious if they had given you any direct feedback after that conversation.
Not really, no.
I mean, to me, it's the users gotta be able, users gotta use it. You give them something they don't use, then you might want to put it right on the toilet. It's gotta make economic sense. That's the five of us in finance. And then, you know, what does it do for staffing? So, I mean, department heads are important because they're gonna, you know, you're gonna have to, they're gonna have to agree with this and do it. You know, it's easy when we buy a truck for somebody, they drive around, they plow snow, we know what they're doing. So, yeah, that's what I got.
I know this is
Why don't you guys, you know, one of the four of you or whoever, the three of you, you know, get back together and, you know, talk what we need, what we don't need, and I mean, and tell us, you know, if 79 is the number or whatever, and then we gotta have a little more discussion, so. I'm sure the sales cycle on something like this isn't like you're selling candy bars. You know, it's like selling a house. Good luck. It's gonna be a 6-month year deal, so, I mean, let's all be realistic. This is a long process.
And financially, we're trying to kind of bounce the numbers. I mean, the implementation fee is something I think that is an eligible expense through Sourcewell on a grant, so I think I can get that covered with that. But the yearly costs, you know, I've shared this with Jack and Elliot, that we need to talk about some wiggle room there, because we're looking at those 7 or 8 programs that we already are spending about somewhere in the line of 30,000 on. So that's a stretch between 30 and 79. So we've got to come up with that gap and continue maybe to talk about where that gap is, and other ways that I've been trying to research ways that we can look at the cost. I think it is a great idea about Morrison County and getting their feedback from their employees directly, maybe some, you know, qualitative stories.
I'd just like to see like a survey monkey go out to every one of their employees and see what the feedback is.
See what they say?
Say, yes, I like it, or no, I don't.
Because I want the employees to embrace it and like it. I don't.
More for the employees than I want it for any of us. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what it's about in the end.
Selfishly, we would like it for sure.
I understand, but
but
250 other people we've got to deal with.
They gotta like it. They gotta want it, and I want it to be easier for them than what we're doing now. And I gotta think that there's a better way. I really do, and I think that it would be better for for them too, and I think they'd like it.
Do we have a cave somewhere where we're storing all of our paper documents?
What?
No, we are scanning them in and shredding them.
That was the federal government's got a cave that.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I thought you said cave.
I was gonna say, do we, Nellie? I don't know yet. Okay.
Anyway, okay.
Jackie, if you said we got about 30,000 we spend on software right now or that kind of stuff, does that go away, or are we still keeping all that? All of it?
Yeah, this would replace all of that.
All of it goes away.
Nothing kept for public works, nothing for anything else, it all goes away.
We do a lot of, I don't know, you know, I figured it out since I've, of course, been with the group. They do a lot of double entering. Like, they'll enter into a program, and then when a change comes in from an employee, they'll enter it then into multiple programs back, but then they'll also keep a tracking, like in almost an Excel spreadsheet of the changes as a stopgap, so that if we make any mistakes, we catch ourselves. Because ultimately, the paycheck is the ultimate thing, right? We all value our paycheck, and if our paycheck is wrong, that is very stressful to people, all of us, myself included. You want it to be right. So before it gets there and we push the button, send the paycheck to the employees, we're doing a lot of double entering, so we catch ourselves of human error and mistakes. And it's just a really bogged down process.
That should be programmatic. It shouldn't be that we're manually, honestly, we shouldn't, like, it should be programmed.
With
should not be
with the
manual
systems
stuff.
we have now, we cannot do it. We cannot make it automated.
Like, for example, one thing that I think of is CPT and Benefits Connect. There is no way to make those two systems talk to each other.
Can I take the program and market it a hire as a grantee? It's a hire that was hired because of a grant. And the grant expires on this day, and at that day, the position now has to be termed out. Can I put that flag in there?
Yes.
And another item, just so like something that we don't have now that we would have with Paycom, is like time off requests. Right now, each department handles their own, however, whether it's an email, whether it's a calendar invite. Our current system, you cannot request time off.
How do you request time off? They email you?
They're manually tracking it somehow. Whereas now with Paycom, they
But
could.
if they change the request for time off, they want a different date now. Like Lou's going on vacation, but Lou's wife's boss says he's gonna change his vacation schedule. Now she's gotta change it. How would we do that?
They communicate that with their supervisor. It's all, they all have their own way of tracking it. Like for us in
Their own way.
for us in administration, for example, we use our Outlook calendar and we send like a meeting request we do it before 8 o'clock and just have the date and time, and I'll accept it or Jackie will accept it, and that's us approving their time off request, because we do not have a time off request system.
So this would, so if I were an employee in, let's say, the planning and zoning, and I want to request time off with your system, I plug in the request, I want 8 hours off on Thursday. It goes to my manager for approval. He says, no, I still don't have to show up because I got earned sick and safe time, right? Is that the way it works though? Would that track that way? If he said no, would they have to use earned sick and safe time? Or can he say no? Can he say, no, I don't approve it?
If they're requesting vacation, you can deny vacation. They would have to come back and request ESST. That's no different than now.
Okay, they could deny vacation on that app through the app.
Yes.
The supervisor could.
They could, yeah.
Okay.
They could.
Because you can deny it now. You can deny vacation now.
How would the planning and zoning, and maybe the wrong department asked, they're here, they're not here, but like, let's say they got somebody out, but they forget it, they're doing their own system, they're writing it down, or they're putting it on scrolls or whatever they're doing, and then they forget about it, and all of a sudden someone else is out, like, now they got two people out, and we can't do any planning and zoning.
That's
There's something in the system that would flag, the department that says, oh, remember, Johnny Appleseed's out.
That would be Jack. I don't.
You can set coverage
Like, I wanna make
thresholds.
sure that I'm not giving two people out at the same time, or I'm not, whatever.
And that's the thing, like, because of this, because of what you see on the screen today, if there's not a human being looking at that schedule and looking at the time off requests, we can be in a position where we don't have the proper coverage. But because Paycom made their time and attendance and made their own scheduling, those two items are talking to each other. And even if you request a PTO day and you're scheduled to work on that day, it's going to ask you, okay, now do you want to post that shift to the job board? In which case, anyone who's qualified to pick up that shift can get a notification, pick up the shift, the manager approves it, now they're officially assigned the shift. Even things with PTO requests, it's smart enough to look at the schedule and say, okay, we actually don't have the proper coverage for that specific day. We're going to deny your request, because I'm assuming someone today would deny it anyway if there wasn't the proper coverage.
It's up to the manager to work it, not
We've
to
got some
deny the
departments that are
request.
really small,
Sorry.
2, 3, 4, 5 people, and maybe there's a conference that they're gonna go to, right? And for some reason, they just kind of whatever, and everybody goes to the conference. And all of a sudden, there's no coverage. Can we build something that would go to whoever's our superior and say, oh, by the way, you gotta keep the doors open today?
Yeah, those are, so guys, during implementation, and just so you guys know, we've probably met with the team 14 times over the course of the last 4 months to determine that this is going to be the best solution going forward for you all. During the first 2 to 3 weeks of implementation is probably where I'm going to ask the most out of the HR and payroll team, because that's where we're actually building out the shell of your system. That's where we get the rules and policies in place. And for any of the scenarios that you guys just mentioned, we're going to say, okay, this is how it's done today. Do we want it to continue this way? And if you want to change it, 2 other counties are doing it this way, what do you guys think? So I just wanted to be clear about that. Our average implementation timeline is anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks, and that first 2 to 3 weeks is where we do a lot of the heavy lifting.
You know, following up with Bob's comment too, I mean, we see, you come here on a Friday and you see fewer and fewer cars parked outside on Fridays, it seems like. So we can track to make sure that there's people in every department, and how many people are, if I'm going to work 4 10-hour days and take that off, but we'll be able to see that, how many hours they're actually putting in, or if they're working 3 12 hours?
Yep. So Commissioner Becker, now within Paycom, payroll is in real time. So as employees are submitting their time and attendance, managers have visibility into their time cards, and they can even see who's clocked in and out directly from Manager on the Go or their desktop. So if you guys do have geofencing, which we do have a part of the package, you'll be able to see their exact latitude and longitude when they clock in and out. I work with a hospital where they even want their employees to be in a specific floor, in a specific room before they clock in and out. So again, this can be differentiated based off of different departments or employees, but I just don't want there to be any excuses when it comes to time and attendance or time fraud.
So I think real time is a big thing to say that, to call that out. Real time meaning what's happening right at the moment with an employee. Are they at work or are they on vacation today? When we're filling out timesheets, we're doing that sometimes every 2 weeks, right? I mean, maybe we're supposed to go in every day and put our hours in, but some of us don't, right? We wait every 2 weeks before the deadline and we quick fill in our timesheet. We do. That's human nature. With this system, it's on the go. You're current. It's currently what's happening. I like that because it's telling you, like you said, you know, who's at work today, who's on vacation.
We gotta get going, everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry. We do. People got, be in St. Cloud and different places, so do you want
us to
to figure out
come?
next steps? Let us know.
What do you as a board want to do? Do you want us to go
Commissioner
to?
Newman wanted to get Morrison reps
Get-
and talk about.
Okay.
Well, and I got a CPT meeting on the 24th. I'd be curious to find out the 25 counties that are invested in that, along with us, what they're using for payroll. And I can ask that question, so
Okay.
then I'll bring it back to the board the first meeting in April.
Would it be helpful to come back to work session then, that first one in April,
There was a million questions.
with all of these things? Okay.
A lot of questions,
Lot of
and,
questions.
you know,
Okay.
the numbers gotta crunch a little too, so we'll see. I mean, if we're saving 30 and
Sounds like a
spending
low
90,
revenue.
that's a different.
A lot of power, so.
Yeah.
Big set on it.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you guys and thank us for even having us back on site. Is there anything that Elliot and I can do our homework on in preparation for that next meeting outside of, if you guys want us to facilitate a reference call, we'd be happy to do that. We know you're probably well connected with them too, but we can also send over some of those survey results as well as a part of our follow-up. Anything else?
You can send them to me.
Awesome.
And then we'll-
We got all this open meeting stuff we got.
You guys got enough on your plate.
We got it. Well, it's just, we got a open meeting law makes us, get it, Jackie, put that.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you guys again.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Anything else? We good? Julian? Should we adjourn? We gotta get a motion to adjourn.
No, not on this.
No.
It's a work session. We just closed this.